It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Jeff, Stacy, and Ant, they're all here. We got lots to talk about. Alphabet's amazing quarter and what it all means. Google's getting in bed with Ford. What does that mean? Jeff Bezos steps down at Amazon. Steven Sinofsky steps up. It's all coming up next on Twig. It's the last few days for our annual Twit survey. We're cutting it off, and we don't want to miss your feedback. So if you haven't taken it yet, go to twit.tv/survey21. It helps us understand our audience better so we can make your listening experience even better. It'll only take a few minutes, but it is just the last few days. Go to twit.tv/survey21, and thanks in advance.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit. This is Twig. This Week in Google, episode 597, recorded Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. Count Robhgien Ruomorf Laetsew. This episode of This Week in Google is brought to you by Melissa. Like expired milk, 30% of your customers' data goes bad every year. That's money down the drain. Visit Melissa's developer portal for free access to data quality APIs, demos, and code samples. Freshen up your sour data today with 1,000 records cleaned free at melissa.com/twit. And by Nareva. Getting your audio ready for meetings back in the office, Nareva Audio is designed for distancing. It automatically adapts to new room configurations, so you're ready for the new normal and whatever comes next. Learn more at nareva.com/twit. And by CacheFly. Give your users the seamless online experience they want. Power your site or app with CacheFly's CDN and be 30% faster than the competition. Learn more at twit.cachefly.com. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google. My favorite show on a Wednesday afternoon. I really had to narrow that
You're
down.
my favorite middle child that was born in the spring.
Yeah. I don't want the other guys to be jealous. I do like doing this show an awful lot, and it's partly because of you, Jeff Jarvis, the Townite Center professor of the thingamajig from the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of Newark. Hello?
Newark.
Hello? And it's partly because of Stacy Higginbotham from Stacy on IoT.
It's mostly because of Stacy.
Well,
But
yes.
Jeff's room is reversed.
Wait a minute. It is. Wait a minute. What the hell happened here?
It is because I was on Star Talk earlier, and I had to debunk filter bubbles, and I wanted to show the book. Now, did I mess that up? I did, didn't I?
I think the book is now backwards.
Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Wait a second. I reversed.
Oh, my God, Stacy. I can't believe you noticed it.
How could you not notice it?
There you go.
Okay.
The French doors were on the left.
His mic. I didn't pay attention to the
I completely
French
missed it.
doors were there.
Yeah. Holy cow, Stacy. You would be really good
You are observant.
What is that?
I'm a reporter. That's my job.
No. That's a special skill. That's for like... I spy with
Detectives.
my little eye. Or
I was about to say like newspaper comic pages.
Yes,
and
yes.
Highlights magazine.
Yes, exactly. Highlights for children.
Useful skill.
You're very good at that. Anyway, welcome from Stacy on IoT, the Stacy on IoT newsletter at stacyoниot.com, and of course the podcast, Stacy on IoT. And it's also because of this fella here, Ant Pruitt.
Yay!
Hands-on photography.
I don't know if I would have called that observant. Where I'm from, we call that nosy.
Oh! Bless your heart.
Just
Dang,
kidding.
I just was called nosy by Ant. I mean, that
Just teasing.
that hurts me in my heart.
You know, there is a little something, and you two probably get it because, Stacy, you're from Houston, and Ant's from South Carolina, and you probably get it but there is a little kind of passive-aggressive thing going on in the South. It's the bless your heart thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where you say something nice, but it's really a little bit of throwing a little shade.
I've said it to you a couple times.
I know you have.
Sound.
I know you have. Don't think I didn't miss it.
They're
I'm known to
constantly
call that
nice and rude.
Yeah.
I call that. I'll censor myself for John's sake, but I call that grin effing.
Grin effing. Well,
It's
of course,
it's not quite so. I feel like it depends. There's
soft.
harsh.
Yeah.
But then there's also like,
It's soft.
we noticed that you are not meeting our standards,
Yeah.
which is just kind of like,
It's just-
like, let's say you brought a
it's gentle.
grocery store pie to the picnic.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
she brought a
they'll call
grocery
you out.
store pie to the picnic.
I'll be
Bless
like,
her
"Oh,
heart.
do you not have, do you not have enough time? Were you rushed this morning?
But now, see, Jeff's from New Jersey, and in Jersey, it would be, what the hell are you thinking,
What the
bringing
hell
a
you doing
grocery
with
store
that? What do you
pie?
think this is?
What do you think this
Whole
is?
different vibe.
I just realized, Leo, that the lower third and the lighting behind you is the same blue as the new Mustang.
Yeah, grabber blue. So Jeff's giving me a hard time because I was very excited while I'm doing Windows Weekly in the other studio. I have a window outside, and I'm looking outside, and I see what I'm pretty sure is a Mustang Mach-E, the new electric vehicle, go by in grabber blue. And it kind of really grabbed me because I'm waiting for mine. And so I immediately, after Windows Weekly, ran across the street, took this picture.
He has threatened people that if the car comes in while he's on the show, he's gone.
Yeah.
It's our show then.
You know, though, it's one of those things. Life is so disappointing. I'm sure you all understand this. Where the anticipation.
I don't know about that.
Well, you tell me. The anticipation of getting it far outweighs. You know, the minute I get in and I drive off, it's like, that's just a car, right?
No, when I got my Tesla, I loved that thing I still love it.
Oh, okay.
I can't say that. I mean,
Okay.
anticipation is great, but depends on what the anticipation is for. Because some things it's just. I still enjoy sitting right here and hitting these buttons to turn on the camera. And
Yeah, I'm not saying that. In fact, I always enjoy
let it go.
travel, but I have to say that often is the case. The planning, the anticipation, the leading right up to the trip is a lot of the excitement. Once you're on the trip, it's just you're living your life.
I haven't loved a car since my Saab in 1990.
Did it make you cry, or just sob?
Your weekend's coming up, huh, Leo?
Oh, Jammer B, where's the rim shot?
There is a tie-in. There is a tie-in because Ford and Google announced this week they've signed a 6-year deal for connectivity in the car and cloud services. Ford did not say which vehicles this will include, and I have a feeling that the Mach-E, which is new, is not quite new enough to take advantage of this. It's designed, according to CNBC, to streamline Ford's operations and accelerate their $11 billion restructuring plan. Ford has for the longest time used QNX. Before that, it used Microsoft Car as their operating system. It's not clear whether they'll use Android. There's a Google version of Android for automobiles. I'm not sure that's exactly what's going to happen. Under the deal, CNBC says Ford and Lincoln vehicles will support Android, the Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play. This starts in 2 years, in 2023. And they'll use Google's cloud for other types of services. As an example, for enabling a system for sending customer messages about maintenance or trade-in opportunities. Google will also help Ford use artificial intelligence in areas like supply chain logistics and manufacturing. So this is a big tie-up. Go ahead, Stacey.
Well, I was going to check and make sure because the first thing my husband was like, so I have to have a Google phone to drive a Ford car? But
No.
This has nothing to do with like what you're going to plug your phone into.
Yeah, Ford-
get maps or your whatever.
Ford specifically
Ford
addressed
Sync.
this. It will still, well, that's a question. It will still support both Android Auto and Apple's CarPlay while driving. So they said they're not going to abandon that. But I think it is replacing Sync. The Mustang I'm getting has Ford's latest version of Sync, which is kind of their UI on top of, I think it's QNX, whatever real-time operating system they're using. As I said, for a long time, it was Microsoft's platform with Ford Sync on top of it. So I'm not sure when or how this is going to happen. Years ago, the company used Microsoft software to power its Sync in-car communication system, but they switched to QNX, which is from BlackBerry, of all people, in 2014. In 2015, they committed to using Azure, Microsoft's cloud, for software updates, and they signed a multi-year deal with Amazon Web Services in 2019. So unclear if those relationships
tried
will continue.
everybody.
Yeah, they've gone through everybody.
Exactly.
Interesting. I think it's interesting from both companies. It sounds like a bigger relationship than either of those.
Well, it sounds like they're trying to solidify or consolidate everything from their back-end cloud stuff for the cars into the user experience stuff on the cars, and then the underlying. QNX it's embedded, and I guess, yes, you could use Android, but most people chose QNX because it is a true real-time operating system, and it's got a lot of security benefits that Android, frankly, I don't really feel like it has. So that's a question I have on that, just from a IoT perspective.
Yeah, so Android Auto is like CarPlay. It's a user interface glossed on top of the screen that interfaces with your phone. There is also Android for Cars, which is an Android Automotive OS. And it's not, I don't know if that's what Ford, they didn't use that phrase, Android Automotive OS. Not clear what the relationship is going to be around that. You have, on a Tesla, it's one of the interesting things about Tesla. They do it all. They don't use anybody else's operating system. It's Linux. They do all the software on top of it. They don't even integrate very well with third-party services. Like there's no CarPlay or Android Auto. There's no Apple Music.
I just got Spotify like a year ago.
Yeah, you just got Spotify. So it's more of a closed universe. And I have to say, the cars that I've driven that have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, it's great because your phone is always updated. That way, those maps are much more recent than any map that's built into a car. So, although for a while I didn't.
But this sounds a lot
Tesla
like something no one will even notice, though, with it being the OS of the car. A lot of people don't really know.
No, they don't care.
All of that stuff.
Oh, Scooter X is saying, yes, this is the quote, by leveraging Android Automotive, Ford will also be able to divert significant software engineering talent from operating system development to the creation of Ford and Lincoln customer innovations. So it sounds like they are replacing QNX and Sync.
And they're basically outsourcing the
Yeah.
operating system
Right.
and all of the underlying software and focusing on
That kind of makes sense. Let the
It does.
software guys do software, right?
Well,
Do you believe
and
they're going to make
because-
$9 billion in revenue off of this?
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, the Yahoo story there, the second one, says they'll get $5 million profit, $9 billion revenue off of data subscriptions for, say, entertainment or retail services from your car.
Oh, this is
That
Ford
much?
getting this?
Yes.
$9 billion.
Well-
So this is the money flow is toward Ford, not toward Google. That's interesting.
Well, I'm sure Ford is paying Google, but let's think about it. So your car has a data subscription, right? So obviously some of that goes to the carriers, but it's usually offered through the car vendor, or the Ford, not AT&T, for example. If you subscribe to a Maps service, because you could always say to people, yeah, hey, for an easy map service that's constantly updated and has something like Street View, which is more data intensive, pay us $5.
But that's in my phone. I don't want to pay Ford for that. I already have it in my phone.
I get that. I get that. And some people are going to say, I have it in my phone. Some people are going to say, just put it in the car. If I were buying it for my mom, I'd be like, just here.
This $9 billion is a complete back of envelope calculation from Morgan Stanley, who says, well, we figure if there's 75 million vehicles on the road with the Ford badge. If each generated $10 a month in subscriptions, that would create $9 billion in revenue with a 55% pre-tax margin. That's $5 billion. It's completely made up.
And then if it drives to GameStop on the way,
Apple is in trouble each and every year.
Yeah, I don't.
What if you think about think about ML services, right? So let's think about insurance. If you have this level of connectivity in your car, Ford could offer you insurance in conjunction with someone else and take a cut of that revenue.
They're already doing that with the new Mach-E, which is an electric vehicle. They have deals with all the chargers so that I don't have to give them a credit card. The car communicates with the charger, says, yeah, this Leo, charge it to his account. So they're already doing those kinds of deals, and I think that that's just the beginning. And Ford even said, Jim Farley, their new CEO, even said, what we're looking at is ways to make, just like Apple did, revenue per customer. Not more customers, but revenue per ARPU. Yeah.
What's the deal on the Sirius with an automaker?
I don't know. Most of them come, at least the cars I've had lately, you get 6 months of Sirius, and then
so I'm presuming
Sirius pesters you for the rest of your life saying, why haven't you subscribed? Why haven't you subscribed? Have you heard of podcasts?
Because I don't miss those messages at all.
Oh, Sirius is annoying, aren't they? Oy. So, but I
presume that Sirius pays the automaker for the marketing expense.
Yeah, I bet you. Yeah.
Right. So there's something there, I guess.
And
maybe there's a spiff if they get you to subscribe.
Yeah. It never gets me excited. Sound quality.
Howard. I listened to Howard.
Oh yeah, Howard. Oh, Howard. Anyway, there's the Ford story. It's kind of an interesting story. I
agree.
Yeah, and I'm even more interested because there's a car outside with my name on it. Okay, let's move on. There's a lot of money going on right now. Money talk. I don't want to become the money talk show. All of our shows have. Last week it was GameStop, right? This week it's Alphabet. So Google had.
Well, it's earnings. I mean,
I was
come on,
isn't this
that's
earnings
a story.
Yeah, but Google's had good earnings before. Revenue up 23%. Ad business showing strong growth, up 47%. Google revenue was $56.9 billion, $3 billion more than $3 billion more than the analysts predicted. So yeah, very positive. But does that explain the Google stock price? Holy cow, is it up? Let me pull up their ticker.
Why wouldn't it? I mean, there's a lot of people that spend
today.
Way more time at home watching YouTube more than they were before.
Well,
whether it's trying to find a new tutorial to get themselves a new skill or something right now during this pandemic because they can't really go back to work or just work on a side hustle. So
you're implying that stock prices have something to do with the fundamentals of the company, but in my opinion, it doesn't. I think that
Google's fundamentals are good.
They're excellent. Absolutely.
The ad market obviously did great by them, and plus they've got they're signing and announcing these crazy long deals like Ford and no, that was Apple. Anyway, they're doing. I mean, from a fundamentals point of view,
except for the cloud.
Yeah, but can I point out, Google doesn't pay dividends, so the stock price isn't. We had this conversation last week. I don't get how the stock price.
You say zero-sum game. I'm just going to scream.
No, but I don't. The stock prices depend on what people are pay for it. It's like a real estate market. The house is worth whatever anybody will pay for it. And since there's no dividend from Google, you don't have any direct link to Google's success or failure. It's just what people will pay for it.
So let's talk about Google's cloud services.
Okay. I know. I'm sorry I brought it up. I was hoping you could explain.
They're losing less
how it's
money.
Tied.
They're basically their revenue has gone up considerably. They're at $13 billion. Last year they were at almost $9 billion, and they're losing less money based on the revenue. So that's good. They are losing $5.6 billion. But a lot of these cloud deals,
who's losing money?
Google.
Google's losing money? What are you talking about?
In their cloud segment.
Cloud.
Oh God, they're not. Their cloud segment hasn't been competitive ever, right?
I know it's consistently lost money. They're consistently making,
it's losing less money.
They've lost less money.
Right. I get it.
Right, it's an improvement.
Okay. This Ford deal will help, right?
Yeah.
Their Google Cloud revenue $3.83 billion. which is out of 56 billion. So it's not a big part.
I'm talking annual results. So annual.
Oh, annual. Okay.
Like for 2020, they earned 13 billion and they lost 5.6 billion.
Wow.
So, but in 2019, they made 9 billion and they lost 4.6 billion.
I would buy some stock now. They're losing money.
Especially after this Ford deal.
They're losing money slower. That's good.
And Sundar Pichai said that they have done their deals that are over $250 million more than tripled. So that's pretty good. Go Thomas Kurian.
Okay.
Okay, I'm done. I'm trying to talk to you about money.
No, I know.
Money show.
He's being
I'm
just
sorry.
difficult today. That's all. It's his job.
You just be difficult. That's okay.
That's what he does. Usually I'm
not trying to be difficult.
Well, let's move to something fun, like Google
John
killing
just
a business.
But you just are. Okay, it's time to take a break. Our show today, I just am difficult. Our show today is brought to you by Melissa. Now, this is this is a company I know and really appreciate. Melissa is a company that actually they started, and I think it was back many years ago, 35 years ago, and it was probably at that time correcting zip codes. Remember when the zip codes first came out? Nobody knew their zip code, and then there was the zip +4. Melissa has been doing that for a long time, and as the years have gone by, they've added more and more capabilities. Now you can verify full addresses, emails, phone numbers, and names, and you could do it in real time. They're so fast. They have a global address verification service that could verify addresses for 240 plus countries and territories, and they can do it as you enter it. So you've probably experienced this, whether you're on a form and you're starting to enter it and it says, "You mean this, Melissa?" Or if you're a customer service rep, it's so easy to accidentally type the wrong zip code or transpose street numbers. Melissa fixes it. They make sure your data is accurate and current. And that's important in any business. You want to reach the right customers. You don't want to waste money sending mail to the wrong address. Their tools are going to save you money. They're going to make sure your customer data is good. And customer data goes bad even after it's entered. In fact, around 30% of customer data goes bad every year. So there's the real-time Melissa that'll help you with the data entry. And then there's an ongoing relationship with Melissa that makes sure your data is accurate as time goes by. You can even add customer demographic information to your records, public information like property, mortgage data, marital status, social media handles, so you can know your customer better. You can interact with them better. Melissa has completely flexible deployment options, whether it's on-prem. There's a web service you can use. They have secure FTP processing. You upload a database. You download the clean database. Software as a service. You could choose the best way to meet your particular needs. And of course, Melissa treats every bit of data carefully. It's so important that the data is secure. They continually undergo independent security audits to reinforce their commitment to data security, privacy, and compliance requirements. Melissa has the utmost dedication to your data security. They implement strong controls and safeguards when processing your data. SOC 2, HIPAA, GDPR compliant. Trust Melissa to be your foundation for data-driven success. Melissa's a great company, too. They're supporting communities and qualifying essential workers during COVID-19. See if your organization qualifies for 6 months of free service. You can apply online. Melissa, melissa.com/twit. So don't put up with sour customer contact data. Try Melissa's APIs in the developer portal. It's easy to log on, easy to sign up and start playing in the API sandbox 24/7. In fact, right now you can get started with 1,000 records cleaned for free. Just see how it works at melissa.com/twit. MELISSA, melissa.com/twit. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it was a good quarter for Alphabet. Their stock went up a lot. What else? Stadia, though, not such a good news cycle for Stadia. They have announced that they are going to shut down their independent game studio. Jade Raymond, who they brought in with great fanfare. She's a very well-known game developer from some of the biggest game platforms, is out.
Had you played any Stadia games?
I don't. Had they released any of their internal games? I don't know. I played Cyberpunk 2077.
Any of their own? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they
on Stadia.
But I don't know which ones were theirs.
So.
Yeah. That's a historically very difficult thing to do. It's very expensive to develop games. It's a very hit-driven industry, and a lot of them flop. Takes years to do it. They brought in, Raymond is a veteran producer who created Assassin's Creed. So they brought in, heavy hitter, but boy, they didn't give her a lot of time. Less than a year. I'm trying to remember when they hired her. Though the service is going to continue, as is the $10 Stadia Pro service. They're going to continue to offer games. I have to say, though, it must shake people up who are invested in Stadia. I have a pro membership. I don't use it that often. The advantage of Stadia is the games run on their servers. There's a lot of companies doing this now, including Microsoft. And you can run it on low or inexpensive hardware like a Chromebook or an Android phone, even though it's a very high-end game because all the work is being done on the servers. That is going to continue. The disadvantage Stadia has compared to something like GeForce Now, which is another competitor, or Microsoft's xCloud, is you buy the game from Google and you don't have a copy. You can't play it anywhere else. And so when anything I think that happens that's shaky to Stadia, that concerns people about Stadia, is going to really, I think, impact them going down the road.
Explain that being a disadvantage because you don't have a copy. What's the difference between buying it?
If Stadia goes out of business, what happens to your game? I don't know.
Yeah, you spent
right,
30 or 60
same could be
bucks
said
on
for
something.
the likes of Steam.
No.
Right?
No. Not at all. Well, I mean, you download the Steam game, now you're playing it on your computer, you have it. I guess if Steam went offline, maybe it wouldn't do any piracy check or something, but you have the game. Yes. Same thing with Microsoft. You buy the game, you own the game. In this case, you own the game, but it's through Google. GeForce Now, for instance, you can play your Steam games on GeForce Now. You could play your EA games on GeForce Now. So you buy the game in a normal fashion, but you can play it on your Android device through the GeForce Now servers.
Those servers.
Okay. It's a little weird if you're a Stadia. With Stadia, it's a little different situation. And we were talking about this on Windows Weekly. Paul speculated maybe if Google decided to pull the plug on Stadia, they'd give somebody else the game so you could play it with them, or I don't know. The thing is, it's the maybe that's concerning. If you're going to spend $60 on Cyberpunk 2077 and you can only play it on Stadia, and Stadia starts to look shaky, that seems concerning.
Okay. Yeah. Now I see the picture. I have that trial or whatever. I guess I still have a pro account. I probably should look to see if I can charge.
You're paying $10 a month for nothing.
And I play that thing just sort of here and there. I've played that Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Even though I never even knew what Destiny 1 was, and it was pretty fun.
It's a good game.
I've been playing the F1 game, and it's really hard. My only problem with the Stadia service is I would definitely have to run some type of Ethernet cable down to the TV because of the latency and the performance of it from an internet standpoint is the problem. And that's what makes me just turn it off and find something else to do, like a podcast to listen to or something else to watch.
Yeah. So I think that's what's interesting about all of these things is who are they aimed at? If you're a hardcore gamer, you probably have a gaming PC and you're buying the games if you're serious, or a console and you're serious. So it's offering these hardcore games to people like you and me who are casual gamers. And I don't know what kind of business that is.
And when I thought about the whole Ethernet Wi-Fi kerfuffle I was having, Hardheads, they play, well, one of them, he plays Xbox, and it's wireless, and he never complains about performance issues from the internet, dropping packets or whatnot. But maybe it was just the whole Chromecast Ultra in addition to Wi-Fi for me that made a difference with performance. But I said, no, I can't deal with this. I'd much rather be sitting at this desk with a Ethernet cable.
You're not. So that's the question. Who's going to pay $60 for a game but isn't a serious gamer. So that was always kind of the question mark on this. And then I think it really just adds to the overall feeling that Google just kills stuff, right?
It won't last.
They're not killing Stadia, but they're killing their independent Stadia development team. And I think that sends a signal to people that, maybe this isn't a long-term thing. I think it just hastens the end of the line for Stadia.
Oh, I didn't realize they weren't killing Stadia.
Oh, yeah, see? That's exactly my point. That's exactly right. They're not. Third-party games, Cyberpunk, I'll still be able to play that. It's just they were developing, they had an in-house game development team, and they were developing their own games. And so they're not going to do that anymore. But that's exactly the problem. There's people who will say, I guess they killed Stadia. That's one. And then people like, a lot of people are saying, man, now I'm wondering what the future of Stadia holds. I have a feeling this is not a good thing.
I mean, what is Google not?
Not killing?
Right.
Advertising.
Right, so search ads and Android.
Yeah, search ads. YouTube.
And
YouTube.
YouTube department there that you can say they'll keep Stadia around just a little bit longer because they're sort of stopping the bleeding, right? A little bit longer, not much longer.
Oh, just what you want to invest in as a company that's sort of stopping the bleeding.
Yeah, they're sort of. Well, the other thing is, in this business, exclusives are important to selling a platform. So the exclusives that PlayStation brings to the PlayStation 5 sells the platform. If that's a game you want to play, you got to buy it. Xbox has not so many exclusives, but it's widely considered that's an important part of any console is these exclusives. It's one thing that Amazon's Luna, which is a similar offering, GeForce Now, xCloud from Microsoft, PlayStation Now, don't offer exclusives. Google was gonna. Not anymore. So I think Google works really well.
Call of Duty.
Google got a lot of attention for Cyberpunk 2077. It was the only place you could really play it. You couldn't play it it didn't work on the consoles very well.
Oh, that's right. Wasn't it PlayStation that had a big mess about that game?
Yeah, they had to give refunds.
Refund everybody.
And people aren't able to get GPUs for their home gaming PCs, so there was an opportunity there. But I don't know. There's an interesting article in The Verge, which probably lent some credence to Stacy's point of view. Sean Hollister writing, the writing's on the wall for Google Stadia. But they point out that Google's never released Stadia sales or subscriber numbers, so it's unclear how well they're doing. But Sean says, I'm wondering if today's announcement tells us everything we need to know. Google launched Cyberpunk 2077, the hottest game of the year on Stadia. The Verge called Cyberpunk a make-or-break moment for Stadia. It worked on Stadia when it didn't work in other places. But he's wondering, did Google look at Cyberpunk's game sales, grimace, and wonder if a future Google-produced game could do any better? And that might be was the time. It would explain the timing of killing their own independent offering. It's millions of dollars to do these games, and it's a long shot.
Does Stadia see the year 2022?
You want to lay some money on that?
Yeah. Let's play some bets. Does it see the year 2022?
I think your bet would be better. Will Leo lose weight in 2022? Would be a safer bet.
Well, then the question is, will Stacy invest in you?
Yes. No. Probably. If I gave you dividends.
I invest 3 hours every week.
That's a big investment. I know. That's more than.
Let's look at it that way.
Let's not forget that.
You want to hear about scissors?
Yeah. What is scissors editors? And this is more of the Australian story. What is this? I hear the scissors. Are you cutting your hair?
I was doing my research for my Gutenberg book, and I came across some really fascinating stuff in a book. Do I have it here? Yes, I do.
The St. Paul Globe, 1886.
Will Slaughter's Who Owns the News? A History of Copyright. That's the kind of fun stuff I do.
Yeah.
But it's actually a good book. So, as you may know, the 1792 Postal Act of the U.S., I'm sure you have it memorized, enabled newspapers to send each other exchange copies of their newspapers for free through the mail, no cost at all. Nothing.
What? Why would they do that?
Because the point was to encourage them to share each other's news.
I think
And
it was a
newspapers-
scam set up by that Ben Franklin feller.
Well, yeah, there's that. So the newspapers employed what they called scissors editors. And that was their job, was to cut up the other papers. And either a column of news, okay, here it is, and they'd put it in. And it was fine with everybody because everybody copied everybody else.
So you didn't hire reporters. You didn't hire reporters.
You hired that too.
Oh, you had some of your own, but you also
For your local stuff.
This was before there was AP and
before there was
and
It was in
Reuters.
1792. Was it
1790.
1792?
1792 postal act, right?
Yeah.
So newspapers were not covered in copyright at all. And Slaughter says that probably wouldn't have made any sense to Congress to have done so because that's the way news was spread. It was a policy decision that it was good for the democracy and the public conversation for this to work out, right? And I mean, you go way back, and don't worry, I won't go too far. 1605, the first newspapers were copies of email newsletters, basically not email, but mailed newsletters, and which in turn were copies of each other's newsletters. So news, since the beginning of its time, has been copying each other's snippets, which is context to me for the Murdoch law in Australia, where he's trying to force Google and Facebook to pay them for the privilege of sending them free marketing by using snippets. And it just struck me the hypocrisy of it. Well, the news business has been on this forever, and it still is.
No, one's about geographic dispersion and, sharing news around the world. The other is about arguing if you're taking someone's content or not, I would say.
Or sending them value, which you're doing. That's really the issue, is that now there's value sent to them. But the truth is, Stacey, if newspapers suddenly had to pay each other for their stories that they use for inspiration, they'd go bankrupt. If sources stopped talking to newspapers and said, okay, no, if you're going to do this, Rupert, I'm charging you for the next quote. Pay me by the quote, right? That ain't going to happen. Newspapers count on free copying of information from others. And newspapers get value from Google and Facebook sending them audience. I'm just pointing out the Murdochian hypocrisy.
I don't actually disagree with you on this one. I'm just saying that it doesn't feel quite like the right analogy. But
go ahead. You guys are going to make an alliance and vote me off the island, aren't you? I can tell.
No, I just...
I see it going on already.
This is not an area where A, I'm an expert, and B, that I have strong feelings.
I have strong feelings about what Murdoch's trying to do in Australia. I think that's very risky and silly and bogus.
Well, it's also spraying to Canada now. So now Canada is jealous.
Really? Canada's going to do that too?
The heritage minister there said this week that they're thinking of doing the same thing.
The wise thing to do would be to wait and see what happens in Australia first.
Yeah.
Just see how that goes. Then maybe you could try.
My favorite little bit of the story. So in 1902, the Charlotte News. I went looking through newspaper.com to find things, and I found this great little anecdote where papers were fine with being copied, but they demanded to be credited as well. They should have been, right? Mm-hmm. And so the Charlotte News was using stuff, or the Herald was using stuff from the news. So the news set a trap for them. They ran a fake news story about a gang of anarchists from Vladivostok planning to kill all the prominent rulers of the globe. And as I say, you thought Q was new. Police arrested the leader, said the story, one Count Robhgien Ruomorf Laetsew.
Show it, John. So there's the name. So just as soon as I saw that, I knew exactly what to...
So the news said in the next edition, if the erudite scissors editors of the Herald had read the story carefully, he might have noticed the name of the illustrious Count was more understandable when read backward. We steal from our neighbor.
Wow.
So I just enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's been going on as long as time. A story as old as time. Oh, wait a minute.
Tale as old as time.
Now I'm going to get sued by Disney.
Oh, sorry.
CNBC says Microsoft is you said Microsoft is the Eddie Haskell of the tech industry.
I said that.
Because they're Microsoft's backing Australia's law. Is that just because they want to stick it to Google?
Yeah. They're Eddie Haskell.
They see an opportunity to get Bing in there. They're like,
That's what it really is.
That's what it is.
Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said on Monday, Microsoft is ready to step in and expand its search product Bing in Australia if Google pulls its
10
search
users
engine.
to 20.
Don't worry. We will help you. We will bring Bing to the Australian continent. Oh, boy.
Considering 94% of the search is Google.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that. Wow.
Unbelievable. I was just getting ready to ask.
I think, let me
Bing
ask you
is
this.
still around? I didn't even know because I always think of Google or DuckDuckGo.
Bing's number
DuckDuckGo,
2.
right.
Bing's number 2.
Number 2.
Okay.
Here's a question. Political question. So let's say that
I'm out.
Murdoch wins and Google leaves Australia. What's the political ramification of that? I've got to believe that the citizens of Australia are going to be peeved, and especially Aussies say so.
Yeah.
They're not going to be happy.
They'll always come back. I mean, it's not the end of the... I mean, they're politicians. They're doing this because they think they have a way to do this without hacking off people. If they get voted out on this issue, then maybe they change. I mean, I don't know. Aussies
I just think politically it just doesn't seem very...
I don't know. The way people feel about Google right now, they might be like, yeah.
Oh, but imagine. Okay. I mean, I know how I'd feel if I couldn't use Google, even if I, do use DuckDuckGo.
Even if you were a dedicated DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, I'd be pretty peeved if some politician's law, or would you? So who would you be mad at, the politician or Google for abandoning your country? I bet the politicians are calculating that it would affect Google more. Like people would be more angry at Google. They pulled out.
Yeah, they didn't want to abide by our laws.
Yeah. That may be their
media duopoly there with two fairly unpopular proprietors.
Yeah.
I was going to say Australians don't really love either of them.
So it's Murdoch and who's the other?
Channel 9 something. It's Corey Carrick. I forget his name. Chat room.
Some other guy.
Got any Aussies in there? You're all sleeping.
Some other
Aussies.
guy.
Yeah, some other guy. I forget.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It does. I agree with you, Ann. It seems a little risky.
Yeah.
That they're taking a little political risk.
Business
I think
and politics are not for the weak.
I mean, clearly that's why Google's threatening it, right? Well, go ahead, Minister. Let's just see what happens. And I bet you that the Australians did not or do not believe that Google would do that. So there's a little game of chicken going on.
I mean, Google's not in China. Google could be in China. It could have. I did an interview on ABC Australia where I said this. Google could have made the compromises and stayed in China. They chose not to. Google does believe in the open internet. I think they would do it.
Google's made some decisions around China that its employees also were like, no.
That's funny because, because Huawei is a Chinese phone company and has historically used Android, and because they can no longer use Google Android in China, they have been, they say, developing a brand new operating system they call HarmonyOS. According to Ron Amadio writing in Ars Technica, there is no discernible difference between Huawei's, quote, all-new OS and Android. They just forked Android, called it Harmony. Job done.
Well played.
We're over. We're done. They can do that completely legally. It's open source.
Yeah.
Probably should be better not to call it, a new operating system. To hear Huawei, Ron writes, to hear Huawei tell the story, HarmonyOS is an original in-house creation, a defiant act that will let the company break free of American software influence. Harmony's announcement in 2019 got big splashy articles in the national media. CNN called HarmonyOS a rival to Android. Richard Yu, the CEO of Huawei's consumer business group, told CNN that HarmonyOS is completely different from Android and iOS. Even last month, head of consumer software said HarmonyOS is not a copy of Android, nor is it a copy of iOS. But Ron looked, and it's essentially an Android fork. He says, okay. And there's a good article if you want to read more about it. There's a lot of detail in the SDK it's looking at and so forth. Well done, Ron.
That was a lot of Google, Stacy, huh?
Oh, I'm not
I know.
done.
I'm really
No, there's more.
We're still Googling.
I'm not done.
Yeah, we're still
There's more.
You want to know what a hit the Chromebook is?
Yeah.
Demand has grown 400% during the quarantine, according to Canalys. All-time high, 11 million units in the past quarter. That's up from 2.5 in same time 2019. And, of course, that's got to be education. A lot of students.
It's people looking for cheap computers for their kids at home.
Yep, a lot of kids working at
I think
home.
also
biggest fan of
homework, too.
Chromebooks, but people have been out of work and struggling financially, and I am glad that this has been a viable option for a lot of people to
Absolutely.
be able to have
Amen.
class.
Some
So,
Chromebooks are crazy expensive, though.
Yeah.
Some are.
Before you
Some
Some are, but
assume
you can get
though that this is a big, I mean, look at the graph because the global tablet market almost exactly the same kind of growth.
Yep.
So iPads did very, very well as well. So
wow, that's interesting.
yeah, it's really, I honestly think it really is people not trying to save money as much as just looking for some way for their, because you know when kids weren't studying at home, one computer at home, maybe an iPad was enough. All of a sudden, I know many families. I have a friend, a family of 5, 3 kids.
Yeah.
Each one needs their own computer because they're all in school at the same time. Plus, dad's working at home. Suddenly, they went from needing 1 computer to needing 4. That's what's powering this, I think.
So you can get a Chromebook for under $200. That's pretty amazing.
But
usable options out there now.
But
Yep.
with every bit of good news, a little rain must fall, Jeff. Google is apparently discontinuing their tablet Chromebook. But you didn't buy one of those, did you?
I didn't buy a tablet, no.
No, that was Mr. Toffel.
I'm still waiting.
Wasn't Kevin's favorite, though. He did buy it to review it.
He didn't have it long.
It wasn't.
I remember that. He didn't have it long.
Yeah, they've taken it off the
Well, Kevin liked the Go.
the Pixelbook Go, which is a normal laptop, you know. Before that, what was the name of it? I can't even remember
The
it.
Slate.
The Slate. Good job.
Very good.
Good job. You remember that old stuff. So they're still selling the Pixelbook Go, but the Slate is now history.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You know what? It never was that good.
The slate has been struck.
Well, I loved the prior tablet with the keyboard. I loved. That was almost my main machine.
Oh, the Pixel C.
Oh, give me my mournful desires, Stacey.
I'm like, oh, Jeff, we know.
The Pixel C. That was great. That was the one where the keyboards kind of had turned and it would go out, and that was really cool. Yeah, I gave it to somebody. I don't remember who.
Nexus 7. I miss my Google
Nexus
tablet.
7. That's 7-inch.
Nexus 7.
I wonder if, honestly, no Android tablet I've ever used has been very satisfying. It's really, it doesn't, the operating system does not lend itself well
You're right. You're absolutely
to
right.
that. And that's just because the software is not really tuned for that kind of thing. The Slate was a 3,000 by 2,000 12.3-inch LCD. It was a really nice screen. It used a pen. It had Intel processors. Here's one problem. It started, the entry-level model was $600.
Oh, I was off. I was thinking it was like 800.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, plus keyboard, right?
Yeah, then you had to buy a keyboard and pen and all that.
That's
Yeah.
the $800, the extra keyboard. That's what it was.
God, I'm sick of all this Google news. Jeez.
I know. Jeez. Can we just do something else in life? What the
Hey,
heck?
you
My
rag on the
goodness.
Android tablet and with the OS and whatnot, but I'm still not the biggest fan of iPad and iPad OS.
I don't know what's wrong with
works.
you. You're just
But
nuts.
if I'm just trying to download a file, it just
Well, you don't
it
download
seems
files
like
on
there's gotta be an
iPad.
easier way for me to find my files.
Why would
if
you
I'm looking for-
download a file? What is that about?
If I pull in
Everything's in
a
the cloud.
camera raw file from my Creative Cloud, because I'd rather process that camera raw file on the iPad.
Well, if you
instead
use
of on my
Lightroom, it'd be a
computer.
snap.
Yeah, supposedly.
Yeah, so you're just not using the right software. What do you use?
Well, I have Lightroom, and I also have Photoshop for iPad. I have the.
But you need
Creative Cloud.
Lightroom on the desktop and then Lightroom on the and you have to use Adobe Sync on the iPad and use Adobe's Cloud, then it's then it's there. So wherever you put it, it's everywhere else. Edits and everything are automatically propagate from desktop to iPad. I don't do it either, but that's one of the workflows.
It's a bit kludgy.
The other workflow that I do use is just using Apple's own tools, which is Apple Photos, and then you can have Pixelmator Photo. So it's in Photos, which is your catalog. It has its own kind of limited editing, but it's not bad. And then you can say, but open that in Pixelmator Photo. This is all on the iPad. Do the editing, save it back to Photos, and that goes to your cloud. You don't use Macs either, so it's not for you. That's all. It's not for you.
I try. I mean, and I even try to use like Affinity Photo on the iPad. And again,
excellent program.
The whole file browsing,
because you're thinking of it as a desktop operating system. That's the real disconnect people get when they get the iPad.
Yeah,
there's no
there
really isn't a file system exactly. It's not. I mean, there is one.
Think of it as a media consumption device.
Well, but you can do photo editing.
My iPad.
You can do photo editing, but for security reasons, you can't. It's difficult. They've made it a little easier, but it's still difficult to see files owned by other programs.
Yeah,
each program has its own documents. I think it's more a cognitive disconnect because you're such a Windows guy, such a desktop guy.
Right. I struggle with it, so I just spend more time just consuming content on that thing when I actually decide to pick it up.
Yeah, it's a good choice for that.
It frustrates me to create on it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I use the Mac, but it is nice to have that touch interface for like selecting and quick edits. The pencil and the iPad.
Yeah, I love the Apple Pencil when if I'm in Photoshop and doing some layer masking, it's great.
Nice way to do masking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the pinch, you can zoom in and then do that and pinch to zoom out. I mean, it's a very natural workflow. I'm with you.
Infamously, when the original iPad came out on this very show, I reboxed it because it wasn't made for making.
Wow, was that on this show?
Really?
10 years ago?
Show. I reboxed it, yeah.
That was your first rebox.
That was my first rebox, yes.
I think we really missed
it. That bad.
You hated it that much?
He's reboxed so many things.
It wasn't made for making, was my complaint.
Yeah. He's
Oh, well, that's...
I was somewhat wrong.
Yeah.
It was better as time went on.
The Pro is better, but
I love the Pro with the keyboard and everything, but yeah, that would be the route I'd
go, but that's really pricey.
It's expensive, and it's it's not a computer, so
right.
It's Apple.
It's Apple. It's whatever that is. Google is, speaking of Apple and Google, weren't we?
I think
Google has found an interesting solution to the Apple privacy conundrum, ATT, the application tracking something. Apple has, of course, the ID for advertisers, IDFA, and Apple has said that soon, with the release of iOS 14.5, which is probably a month or two away, everybody will have to offer, anytime you put an app on an iPad or an iPhone, will have to tell the user what your privacy policy is and offer them the choice to turn off the ID for advertisers. That's the one that Facebook took out a full-page ad and said, you're killing small business. So Google's found a solution, a way around this. They're not going to use it. They're going to do something else. Now, you can do this because you're Google. Google is, I'm sure, going to use some sort of even more sticky tracking system that works better anyway. Google said now, remember we said that Google hadn't updated anything since before Christmas because we thought they did not want to do that privacy nutrition label thing. Google now says its iPhone apps will stop using data from the so-called third parties to personalize ads. Big change for Google. Facebook has said, no, we're going to show the pop-up, give users the choice, but we're just going to try to convince them to say, let us do that. Google's taking a different path. It's interesting. I think Google can do this. Google's Maps and YouTube will just stop using the ad from Apple, the tool from Apple that lets them personalize ads, so they don't have to pop up that warning. They're just not going to use it. They'll, in effect, turn it off so you don't have to. But it's my contention they're only doing that because they have some better way. of tracking you. They don't really need to. They don't really need it.
Well, we talked about this a little bit last week. It's going to be the big guys can afford to do without the old
that's right.
tracking. The little guys can't. And so it's another unintended consequence of threatened regulation that in regulatory capture, the big guys win.
All right. We're going to talk all about GameStop next. No, we're not. I'm just teasing.
There is one more
I
Google
saw all those
story
GameStop
that
stories
Ant promised to talk about.
No, GameStop. Okay, one more Google story. Okay.
One more Google story, because Ant and I both promised to talk about it on Twitter, which is Google paying $3.8 million to settle discrimination lawsuits. Right, Ant?
Oh, yes.
That's correct.
Sorry, I did not mean to leave that out.
Oh, no. It's $3.8 million. I read that the headline and I said, okay, well, let me dig into it a little bit more. And it's discussing that it was about 2,500 employees affected, or former employees affected by this lawsuit or settlement. And it struck a nerve because I remember somebody named Andy Rubin, I believe.
Oh, yeah. How much did they give him?
Got $90 million.
92 million?
one person. But yet these people were battling out and standing up for themselves and, terminated for whatever reason. And they get a measly $3.8 million to split up between them. I think that's utter crap from Google. Then I found this other story that I meant to put in the other day that came back from September of last year, where Alphabet paid out, was it $300 million or so? Because they're trying to fight off all of these allegations of wrongful terminations and things like that. And it ended up with a $300 million settlement. And I'm thinking, that's way better, but why did this $3.8 million just hit the fan and say that's the number for these people that are wrongfully terminated or discriminated against at the job, or even applying for the job and was wrongfully discriminated against? Just
because their lawyers gave up on them.
The employees' lawyers?
Yeah, when you negotiate a settlement like that, what's happening is you're evaluating how much someone doesn't want it to go to court because of the weakness of their case versus the power that you might have. I mean, I'm not saying it's right at all. It's not.
Yeah.
But
so there were a number of different groups. There were 2,565 female employees in engineering positions that were subject to pay discrimination. Google's going to give them $1.3 million in back pay. There were 1,757. Pardon me?
Divided by how much? 1.3 million divided by how many?
2,565.
500 people.
Get your calculator out.
I'm doing.
1,757 female and 1,219 Asian applicants who were not hired for software engineering positions. Google is going to pay $1.2 million, and then they're going to set up a cash reserve of $1.25 million over the next 5 years for pay equity adjustments. Any excess money will go to the company's diversity and inclusion efforts. And of course, in this, Google says, now we don't admit that we did anything wrong.
Of course.
But and we deny the allegations, but we are going to agree to do a better job in future. Now, I'm going to ask you, Ant, as a black gentleman, to compare what Google's doing in this regard with racial injustice and what Apple's doing. I'm just curious what your take is on this. Google is committing $12 million in grants to advance racial justice. This is the Google page. They're asking people to donate. These are the groups that they're donating to, which are all, good groups. And then Apple's page, Racial Equity and Justice Initiative, for which they've committed more than $100 million, including some very concrete stuff like creating an education platform in Detroit, criminal justice reform, economic equality. Now, don't judge it on the web page, because clearly Apple won on the web design. I mean, that's obvious, right?
That's what they do, right?
Yeah, they're good at that.
Design.
Clearly, that Apple wins. I mean, compare this to Google's kind of Spartan, like, well, we're using HTML. What do you want? Apple, clearly, I also think Apple's really they're working on STEM for girls, Apple Developer Academy engineers, support for Detroit entrepreneurs. They're going to do a bunch of in-store. Well, I guess they don't do it in-store anymore. They do it via Zoom or whatever, I guess FaceTime. But they're going to do a bunch of educational things featuring Black creators. On the one hand, I'm wondering if you look at this and go, that's cynically and go, well, that's corporations. Or do you feel like one effort is maybe more impressive than the other? Or
part of me is cynical, where I say, well, corporations are just going to all of a sudden
it's PR
woke now, especially right now, February of all months.
Right.
But I also see that actions speak louder than words. And if you can have these conversations and raise awareness and then actually put some action behind it, then I'm all for it. Have at it. Keep doing it.
Even if it is cynical PR.
But then it's all we do is just talk about it.
Yeah.
What are we doing about it?
They are doing products too, which I think is interesting because Apple is a product company. They have a Black Unity watch band and new watch faces, which are available to everybody. They have new Apple Music channels, Rap Life Live. They have, in Maps, they have Black-owned restaurant guides.
Amazon has done a similar thing with its Prime service and with its Prime Video service of raising awareness for people of color from the creativity standpoint, whether they wrote the movies or produced the movies or what have you. And there was a lot of stuff out there I had no idea about that turned out to be fairly good. And then there's some things that just didn't resonate with me. But I did like the fact that these things got pushed up to the top a little bit to say, hey, check these other creators out as well. So that was a nice gesture, and hopefully that will continue to happen when I open up the Amazon Prime app, and not just something that's right now because it's a hot topic and a good PR push.
Actually, I apologize. Google is committing $175 million to racial equity initiatives with a focus on Black. This was back from last summer. I just missed it. Focused on financing Black-owned businesses and supporting Black entrepreneurs. So it's
however,
need to fix your own house too.
2,565 female employees, back pay and interest.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong here. $506 each.
Ugh. Okay.
That's what I say. Take care of your house first, though.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's justice.
That's not good. And of course, as you point out, Andy Rubin got a very fat golden parachute.
$90 million to leave.
Google's not been doing all that well, at least from the point of view of its public relations anyway. It sure doesn't look like I don't know.
None of us are stupid here on this panel. We know that PR is going to be PR because that's just how it operates, But again, just show me what you're doing. Let me see your actions in place.
Facebook's oversight board has overturned. This is good. There's some teeth in this. Overturned 4 cases in its first rulings. That's 4 out of 5. And as we mentioned last week, they're going to be taking on the case of President Donald J. Trump being banned from Facebook. Boy. You wrote a piece on Medium. Here come the judge.
Nice.
Yeah. Laughing, right?
Yeah.
Is it Flip Wilson? Who was it? Here comes the judge.
Wilson.
Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge.
I think it was Flip Wilson.
Only old people like us remember that. So what do you think of what Facebook's oversight board?
So my smart-ass remark, which I also believe, is that it makes Facebook's judgment look good. So they, and I blame Facebook for this as well. I blame both of them for it because Facebook gave them their statutes, their nitty-gritty community standards to judge from, or very high concepts like hate speech and human rights. So they read it rather literally. So an insult to Muslim men as a group, that doesn't rise to hate speech, they said, so they leave it up. Well, how is the world better off with that? Or the one that shocked me was a French post touting hydroxychloroquine, Donald Trump's favorite cure. They said wasn't imminently harmful because you had to get a prescription to get it, so you couldn't die tomorrow. So they put it up under freedom of speech. And my view is, how is Facebook or the world better off for attacking Muslim men as a group and forcing Facebook to put back up medical disinformation?
That's a really high bar, Jeff. How is the world better off by putting? I mean, I publish stuff every day, and if I ask myself, how is the world better off? I might be hard pressed on.
Well, Stacey, but this is not news. You publish news. This is a case where somebody put up medical misinformation, where science has clearly spoken, the WHO and CDC have clearly spoken, and the oversight board forces them to put it back up. And my standard here is it's not a governmental decision. It is a company, and at some point there should be a standard. This is what I argue, is they should have higher level principles that say, if they had a higher level principle that said, we want people to treat each other with respect, then the Muslim Post would have to go. But they don't have that. They have a statute. If they had a higher level principle, as Monica Bickert, their head of content policy, did say right after the decision, is that they are going to keep going with science and the WHO and the CDC. If they had stated that as a policy, then the oversight board could have said, according to this policy, this shouldn't be here. But instead, they just said, well, here's the nitty-gritty of that statute, so we're going to put it back up. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like what it's designed to do. I mean, you have laws, not laws, but in the Facebook statutes, I mean, that's the spirit and the letter of, and
that's why I'm arguing they need higher level principles, which they don't have.
You liked the oversight board when they appointed the people.
Yeah,
you thought they were well chosen, right?
Well, we'll see.
You may not like their actions.
Just like, I don't know about it now.
I'm not so sure now.
Yeah,
because I think that there's a strong kind of libertarian view to it, which to its peril interprets this in a way. And Stacey, I'm going to come back. I still think that as a private company, they could have said, your policies are crappy. If we'd followed your policies to the letter, then you should keep up medical misinformation. But everybody's coming after you, and you say you're following science. So write a new policy, bozos. That's what the oversight board should have done. But is that part of their?
I mean, I feel like if I were an oversight board, and you asked me to decide on things based on a certain rubric, I would say this rubric sucks. And,
right.
And you could say that, but then Facebook has every right to say, well, then I don't want you on my oversight board because these are the rubrics we want you to follow. And then your choice then is to say, I don't want to be part of this. You can write a nasty letter and share it with everybody saying whatever.
Isn't it the case, though, really, that this board has one and only one job, which is to let Mark Zuckerberg say, well, we're going to have the board handle that and defer responsibility. Like, I have created this board.
Seems to be what it is.
Yeah. I have created this. I don't think Mark cares what the board rules on any of these individual things. If they overruled him every single time, I don't think he'd care. The board cannot review a meaningful number of cases. There are millions, probably billions. I don't know. There's a lot.
Yeah.
And they can only do, a few at a time. Takes them 90 days to do it. This is the tiniest amount. I think a lot of it is just, look, we got this oversight board, and yes, I agree to be bound by their decision, and these are very prestigious people. See, we care. And
it's pressure release for
and he walks away.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Stacey, to your point, the board did make higher policy suggestions, saying, this rule is pretty sucky.
Good.
That rule is pretty vague. So they did do that as well.
But they're not. But that's beyond their portfolio, and Facebook doesn't have to do what they say there, right?
So somebody I know, in disclosure here, somebody I know was asked to put together a group of outsiders to talk about the Trump decision. So she invited me to be part of a group of, it's a 35 people for 90 minutes. I don't think we're going to be able to say much, but it'll be interesting to see the dynamics of that, where they wanted outside input. I fear their Trump decision. I think their Trump decision, based on what they've done so far, they'll just say,
Who asked for that?
The oversight board wanted that. The oversight board asked for that.
Oh, that's interesting. Yep. What was their idea to have this kind of rump oversight board? What was the point of that?
Well, no, the point is to have outside input. So
it's input for their decision.
Groups.
I see.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
So I was not asked personally by the oversight board. The oversight board asked somebody who in turn asked me.
Right.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, actually, at least here in the United States, their decision on Trump carries a lot more weight. I agree with you about the decisions they made. It seems a little odd. Maybe that's not the decision I would have made. But I also agree with you, Stacey. If their rubric is this is based on what our terms of service are, and you have to decide whether it violates our terms or not, then they maybe did exactly what they were supposed to do. But
yeah,
I think that
it does show I think, Stacey, you and I would agree here. I think it shows the weakness of Facebook's rules. As one friend of mine said, a journalist said, they are not fit for purpose to be interpreted by a court of last resort. They're meant to tell a moderator and an algorithm.
That's correct.
Well, if the female nipple has a baby attached, okay, but if it doesn't, no.
That was the one ruling they did overturn.
Even though Facebook had already overturned itself.
Yeah. So, but again, I think that nobody at Facebook cares, because that's not the real purpose of this. It's just to let off a little pressure. Yeah. So I don't think they really care what the. And then, by the way, it may be that Mark secretly harbors a desire to put Trump back on because he drives a lot of engagement and a lot of revenue, and he's just figuring, well, if they make me do it, they made me do it. It wasn't my choice. Oversight board made me do it, and he might be satisfied with that result.
See, where it's going to go, though. I think if you look at Australia, where Facebook has threatened to take news off of Facebook, keep Facebook there, but that users and publishers could not put news up on the platform. And you look at the story that's next on the rundown, that Facebook has developed a bad news avoidance tool for advertisers.
It's not avoiding bad news. It's avoiding news that you don't want to be next to. This is a classic problem for advertisers on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Facebook, because they could be next to something that they really don't want their ad next to. So why is this a bad tool?
No, I'm not saying it's a bad tool. What I'm saying is I think where Facebook... Well, it's bad for news, because I think that what will happen is that
it'll drive namby-pamby news.
Away and away and away.
Yeah.
Now, the advantage to Facebook is, if to take your cynical interpretation as normal, which I would agree with in this case, is I think Facebook would say, listen, guys, we got forced out of the news business. This news is a pain. We really don't make money on this stuff.
Right.
We don't make money on this controversy. We spend a lot more on lobbying for it. We spend money on all these darned moderators. Fine, screw it. Pets and parties. That's what we are again.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'd love to see him do that.
Well, but that doesn't help news and an informed society. And
wait a minute. That's an interesting. Now, here's an interesting conversation. You think Facebook's good for news?
Oh, as opposed to every conversation we've had so far has not been interesting. Thank you very much.
They've all been pretty dull, but including the one I brought up. But do you think Facebook is good for?
Stacey thought no.
Do you think Facebook is good for news?
Yes. Inadvertently through the side door, not through planning, not as well as it should be. But yes, if Facebook disappeared, when Facebook reduced news because of the disinformation controversies of, the Trump years, news organizations were hurt. Yes.
What if they didn't let you share? I mean, if it's a place for you to talk about things with people right, is the theory. A lot of what people talk about at the water cooler is, hey, did you see that story about that kitten who rode a bicycle? So it's news in the sense. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of if you took news away from Facebook, so I as a publisher could not promote things there, and people couldn't bring it in to talk about it. Is that the idea that would happen? I mean,
what's interesting,
then it just becomes almost irrelevant.
Yeah, it does, but a lot of your life is not news. I mean, we're news hounds. Us, we're
I'm like, what?
Crazy people. It's our business. Most people are not as obsessed with news as we might be, and but turn around the other way. What occurred to me one day is that Facebook was definitely not built for news. Our readers took news there because they wanted to talk about it. Twitter was not built for news.
I'm curious
Witnesses
about
took it there because they wanted to share things that they saw. Right? Nextdoor is not built for news, and newspapers should have built that so neighbors could talk, but we didn't. Nextdoor did. So all the things that we lost out in the news business because we wanted to keep doing what we'd always done.
No, I don't think
Facebook
a news
would be better off
organization
without
could
it.
have built that. I kind of disagree. So I think there's if you have people who don't normally go to news sites because they're not that into news, I don't know if a news site could have created kind of a place like that, like for like local communities to talk. I think we're missing the third place online where you can come together with people and talk to them in a way that matters. And maybe for those platforms, you need to be like authenticated and maybe use your real name, not everywhere on the internet, because I'm very anti. But maybe if you step into
next door,
I don't know, your local newsy cafe, let's call it your local cafe. As long as you're who you say you are, you can say, hey, I'm Stacy and I'm coming into the Austin local cafe because I used to live here, and talk about things. But I also would be telling people that I no longer live there, so I couldn't argue about like school bond issues, right? Because I have no stake in that. I think that might be an interesting option for
Isn't
a
that
Facebook
Nextdoor,
or a Nextdoor. No, Nextdoor requires you to actually live in that geographic area.
But you can talk about it.
So
I see.
Nextdoor is
You wanna talk
close.
You want to be nosy in other neighborhoods, right?
Well, it's not just nosy. Like when we talk about things like if you don't live in that exact tiny area, but issues still affect that area, you do need to be able to talk about it with people outside that quote unquote neighborhood, because there are state issues that might affect that neighborhood, or there are citywide issues that are relevant, but one neighborhood is against something another neighborhood. You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, I did a lot of work on this when I ran local news sites, where it's what I call the cinder block of local, because in every market, the definition of local is different. Right? In Cleveland, it's east side or west side. In New Jersey, it's a county. In some places, it's a town. In Louisiana, it's a parish. In Alabama, it's 3 slices of the state. So every vision of local is different. And then you get to certain kind of stories, local is 2 square miles. Other kinds of stories, it's 100 square miles. And so the definition of local online is really actually nuanced and complicated to present.
I'm going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and talk about something else. And that's my promise to you as a podcaster. Our show.
Podcaster promise.
Podcaster promise. Pinky swear. Our show today brought to you by Nareva. You know, I'm a sound like Nazi. It's, to me, video's great, but the sound is what matters. And I was really thrilled to talk to the engineers at Nareva about this really interesting technology designed to make your business meetings sound better, to improve meeting room audio. You know how it is most of the time. You get one of those conference phone things in the middle of the table. Everybody sounds like they're echoey. You can't understand people at one end of the table. It's nasty. It's awful. It's terrible. Nareva is applying computational audio to meeting room sound. You know, you've seen how computational photography can take a terrible picture and make it amazing. That's what Nareva does with the sound in your conference room. When people are in a meeting space, especially nowadays, because you're distanced, right? You're 6 feet from each other. So it's spread out even more. Conventional audio systems just can't handle that. Beam-forming systems, yeah, but that's not what Nareva is. And the problem with beam-forming systems is they have to be adjusted, and people have to sit in specific spots, not with Nareva. You don't have to add mics all over the table, which means sanitizing each mic in between meetings. Don't have to do that. You don't have to have your participants face any particular way or sit in any predetermined spot. They can go where it's natural, where they feel safe, and still get great sound. The Nareva microphone hangs on the wall. It's easy to install. You can do it yourself. They use a patented system called microphone mist technology. It's actually amazing. I got a demo. I was so impressed. Essentially, this microphone on the wall, which looks kind of like a sound bar, fills the room with thousands of virtual microphones. And it does this computationally. So it's automatic, doesn't have to be adjusted or tuned. It's easy to set up. You'll get true full room coverage. So everybody everywhere in the room can be heard exactly the same as everybody else. Clearly, precisely, you can understand them. There's not room tone or echo, no matter where they sit, no matter how they're distanced, no matter where they face. You can install it, just put it up on the wall. It automatically adapts to every room configuration. That's important because Some meetings, there's going to be one person in there. Some meetings, there might be many more. And it'll adjust to who's in the room and where people are sitting. 4 patents on this. It's really inspiring technology. Microphone Mist. They've won numerous awards. Nureva's won the top new technology award at the ISE 2020 for the Nureva HDL 200 system. But the 200 is one of many. No matter the size of the room, you have a variety of systems for small, medium, and large spaces. You should go to the website, nureva.com/twit. You can hear for yourself. They use it at HubSpot. Jimmy Yan, who's I love his title, Principal Collaboration Engineer. He's the AV squad for your meeting room. He says, we were so impressed with the sound quality, the ease of use, the ease of install of the HDL 300. They have the little bit bigger one. It was just a no-brainer for us to adopt it. It's incredible, and I want you to check it out. To learn more how Nureva Audio is the simplest, cost-effective way to let your teams distance in meetings and still act and converse naturally, everybody can hear them, visit Nureva, Nureva, nureva.com/twit. Nureva.com/twit, bringing computational audio to your meeting room. It's really clever. I was very impressed. Nureva.com/twit. Thank you, Nureva, for supporting Twig. Thank you for supporting us by using that special address. And it's, again, nureva.com/twit, T-W-I-T. Jeff Bezos is moving on up to the chairmanship. He's going to spend more time with his money. Were you shocked when you saw this?
Yeah, I said, whoa.
Amazon
I thought it was a big deal, but
they had a fantastic quarter. Best ever.
Mm-hmm. If you had all that money, you finally dumped your wife, you got a hot bod, and would you want to deal with regulators? No, you want to go enjoy your interests.
Is that what happened?
Play with satellites.
Well, all right.
You want to deal with the Washington Post.
He's going to.
Why would he?
He's going to step down later this year, replacing himself with the head of Amazon Cloud, AWS, Andy Jassy, who's been with Amazon for a long, long time.
Which says everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, cloud's where it
This
is
is not
at.
a retail company. Retail's gravy. Retail's a sideline. Retail's just a little bit thing we do for the fun of it to learn how
Ben
to.
Thompson's Stratechery was really good on this. If you haven't read it yet, stratechery.com. That's exactly, he said, Amazon's never been a retail company, and
Right.
this just makes
It's
that.
always been a data and logistics company.
Yeah. I mean, Bezos said what he didn't say what problem can I solve? He said Stratechery says Bezos started with the solution and looked for a problem. The solution, broadly considered, was the internet. And he said, what business can only exist on the internet, so that there's no brick and mortar competition. And he said selling books, because there's 2.5 million books. The largest bookstore in the world can only hold 175,000 books. So there are actually over 3 million books worldwide in all languages. So he was able to get 2.5 million books in a virtual bookstore on the internet you couldn't compete with, because no one's got a bookstore that big. But that was a logistics problem. It was a data problem, and obviously he's a genius. The question is whether Amazon can continue to succeed. Now, I saw some people say, maybe even more cynical than moi, that, Jeff's still going to run the company. He's just now out of the eye of regulators, the SEC, investors, all the people who are annoying, so he can manipulate the levers behind the scenes, and Massey gets to sit in front of the cameras, where Jeff, I think, has never been comfortable in front of the cameras. Does that, do you think, make sense, Stacey?
Yeah. Again, I would like.
Will he still run the place?
I don't really think he needs to. Remember, up until the pandemic, he was pretty, I don't want to say checked out, but he spent a lot of time doing strategic thinking.
Right.
And, he
doesn't want to do day to day. Yeah.
And that pulled him back in. And then if you look ahead and you're like, God, this regulatory quagmire is coming. Geez. I mean, take his money and run.
He made a lot of money in the pandemic. His personal fortune went up significantly. So
he's going to spend it on like space rockets and newspapers. I mean, sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what he said in his announcement. He said, I want to work on Blue Origin. I want to work on the Wall Street the Washington, whatever it is, the Post.
Washington Post, right?
Washington Post. Thank you. He mentioned some other businesses that I didn't recognize. I guess a charitable enterprise.
But here's the question. So is he like, as a personality, is he like Larry and Sergey, that they really have pulled back and they're fine? Or is he going to keep his finger in?
Well, that's interesting because I think you can make a case that Google has not been as Googly since they stepped aside, right?
But Amazon has had wonderful processes, I would say. So I think Andy Jassy will do a good job in the infrastructure and the management layers around that have been built up over time. Amazon has a very distinct culture, and you don't stick with Amazon unless you buy into that culture. And so I don't think we'll see a huge deviation from, again, the culture.
Well, and as Ben Thompson points out, Jassy is not an engineer. He's a business guy. He's an MBA, as is Bezos. Bezos came from a hedge fund. So...
And Jassy is legit.
Sounds
that
like
man
the right
is.
move.
He understands what's going on. He understands the Amazon business model. He is cold if he needs to be, and he will get stuff done. He's like Bezos in that.
So should I keep my imaginary Amazon stock?
Yes, keep your imaginary Amazon stock. Okay. Although this news should have no impact because really we're just playing a big shell game.
As we have agreed now, apparently.
Yes.
Does Amazon have a dividend? Hold up.
Amazon probably does. I don't know. A lot of tech companies don't. Apple for a long time did not, but changed their tune.
Never paid a dividend. And actually, Amazon usually runs close to...
Nope, never.
Yeah, they don't. They don't even try to make a
money.
profit a lot of times. That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. I was like, the words are escaping me, but I'm making the strike thing.
Yeah. Amazon. We should mention that at least halfway through the pandemic, Bezos was making $13 million an hour, which is slightly below minimum wage. Shouldn't it be $15 million for billionaires? I think it should be. Yeah.
Microsoft pays a dividend.
Yeah. No, older
Because
tech.
Microsoft's an old company.
Yeah. Apple, traditionally tech companies didn't, and then I think Apple and Microsoft and others started to because they realized we can't. There's a lot of reasons for it, a lot of pressure.
Apple got kind of forced into it. Microsoft, I think, was more popular by having a dividend than it had been. As you said, that stock stayed at 35 or whatever for years.
Yeah, flat. And Amazon has really had a lot of control over how much money it makes in profit, which is, I wonder if Amazon's incredible record quarter is partly because Jeff wanted to go out with a blaze of glory.
Buy me another billion, will you?
They had $100 billion quarter. $100 billion quarter.
They are amassing more power during the pandemic. More people, and they're taking greater control over their delivery infrastructure, and they're taking driver's tips, but they're paying a small.
Oh yeah, that was nasty.
Well, that was an old
Walmart
story,
is
and I guess the fine came out.
Yeah, they got fined for that. Although you got to point out, the guy's making $13 million a day, but he's stiffing his employees.
$61 million fine.
Yeah,
yeah. That's part of the ethics that, like, did you see O'Donnell? What's his name? Charlie O'Donnell's. This was from January, and it's an excellent essay. And let's see if I can find it on Charlie O'Donnell in his Substack. Give it a second.
She's Googling right now, or is she binging? No one knows.
Seed investments in insurrections. All right, I'm going to pop it into someplace. I'm popping it in here. So this whole... Oh, I should pop it in the show notes. I'm bad.
Is this from the... This is going to be Big Blog?
Big.
This is going to be Big Charlie O'Donnell's blog on venture.
So the idea here is, as a venture investor, he's starting to ask questions about people saying things like, hey, we're going to make huge margins off of, people making $10 an hour. And he's like, well, what happens if it's $15 an hour minimum wage? And then he's like, and hey, even if we don't say that's going to happen because of politics, do you think that's fair? So he's saying that basically the tech industry needs to start, and the financial industry behind it, should maybe ask some questions about their culpability in the rise in inequality.
There are two kinds of people in the world. There's people who believe in like fairness, and then there's the very, very rich. I don't think they care about fair. It's like
survival.
But I'm rich. I don't have. I won. So unless I'm going to pay a penalty for mistreating my workers, I see no downside. Unless,
I don't
public
think people
opinion
used to be that way. I think what's happened is, as a culture, we've moved towards that. Like, if you had told, like, my grandfather something like that, if you had made this sort of argument to him and said, well, it'll be great because, then my stockholders will be better off.
Yeah, he's going.
I mean, this is a myth that is. Yeah, he would be like, that is morally reprehensible. Yeah. And I mean, that's why I pay Kevin, for example.
Yeah.
And that's why I pay anybody who writes for me as much as I can, which is
Let me show you this. Have you read Jonathan Haidt's book, or Haidt's book? He doesn't like it. I call him Haidt. Really good book. He is a sociologist. You know the book, probably, Jeff, because it's maybe more up your alley. But I've interviewed him on Triangulation. He talks about liberals versus conservatives and what values they are. They all have. There's 5 values: harm, fairness, authority, in-group, and purity. And he has much more detailed definitions. But liberals tend to value. Their values are in the harm and fairness scale, higher. And conservatives tend to have higher value for authority, in-group, purity. And, he is, by the way, saying this in a very non-judgmental way. In fact, if you're a liberal, you look at it and go, those stupid conservatives. If you're a conservative, you go, oh, those stupid liberals. But he's looking at it in a very different way. He says if we're ever going to understand each other, we have to understand these 5 values and why the guy across the table who I'm disagreeing with so vehemently, it's just because he values a different set of those 5 higher. It's actually very interesting. He's done a lot of research and work around this. The Righteous Mind is his book, which I highly recommend. But his point is, and this is the point I was making, I agree with you, Stacey. Fairness is important. It's really important. We want to be fair. But not everybody feels that way.
I think, though, fairness is also important for the growth of society. And even if you're selfishly concerned about your own, happiness, it's actually good for that, too, because it creates a more equitable society is a society that is calmer, has less, random shootings.
Well, of course you'd think that.
You're at lower risk.
You're on that liberal side. Of course you'd think that. And then other people think, you know what? If we honor traditional values, if we there are things that we would do that'd be better. And he, by the way, his point is these are autonomic processes.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is like when we talk about the difference between the US and China. I mean, we're talking about cultures
fundamental
that value
cultural differences.
Completely different things.
Yeah. So it's a good book. I highly recommend it. It certainly opened my mind. It's The Righteous Mind, while good people are divided by politics and religion, and it's helped me to kind of understand the other side a little bit better, because they're going, oh yeah, because their values are slightly different than my value. Liberals tend to put fairness above all else, right?
Right. It's also kind of lived circumstances too. This is Dana Boyd's argument in the epistemological war is that we have to start, it's not so much teaching each other facts, it's teaching each other about each other.
Yeah.
Right.
We all got the same.
Never use the word epistemology.
Epistemology.
Thank you.
Use epistemology in a sentence.
No, I mean, I know the word. I'm just we have jumped the shark right there. We're nope.
Yeah. My only point was, while you and I and maybe everybody on this panel would agree, oh yeah, we should consider the fairness of a billionaire making $13 million a day while paying minimum wage to the people who make him that money. But I don't know if that necessarily is a universally held belief.
You don't even have to look at it as that as fairness. You could even, on that chart, what was it? Authority, purity, and the third one?
Yeah, that really is reductionist, that chart, I'm afraid. I shouldn't have done it. Loyalty, authority, and sanctity.
Sanctity. Okay. Well, you could argue, there's a lot in the Bible, and you could argue loyalty to, your fellow man argues that you would not treat someone like that.
Yeah, it's not that conservatives don't believe in fairness, but they don't weigh it as highly as liberals might. I don't know.
Right.
It might be reductionist.
I don't know if you I don't want to say that it's unfair. To me, it's less an issue of fairness. The big moral issue here, it is unfair, but is that when you have something that's so obviously skewed, you have people who are able to utterly take advantage of the people underneath them, and those people have no recourse.
Yeah.
So it's basically abusing your power.
I completely agree with you. That's why I said Bezos makes $13 million an hour, while his employees that are making him this fortune are making less than $15 an hour. And that's really kind of been the story of big tech in the pandemic. It's been very, very profitable for them.
Mm-hmm. So that's another cynical angle to the Bezos story, too, is that he can't top this now. So whoever follows him is going to look bad by comparison, right?
Yeah. I think that's kind of ties in with Amazon's giant quarter, right? It's like, good luck. Have fun. Here's the keys. We'll see. Bezos is a fascinating fella. I've always watched him with great interest. I've read Brad Stone's great book, The Everything Store. Highly recommend that. I wish there were more, actually, about Bezos. Read Ben Thompson's article today in Stratechery, because that was a good one. By the way, it's Blue Origin, his space project, the Washington Post, his newspaper, the Bezos Earth Fund, and the Day One Fund. Those are the things he wants to devote his time to.
And the Washington Post, by the way, is going to get a new editor imminently. The brilliant Marty Barron has announced his...
Oh, no, really? Oh, that's too bad. Mm-hmm. Speaking of CEO movement, the Mercer family, Rebecca Mercer, has decided to kick John Matze out at Parler. Parler CEO John Matze says he's been terminated by the board. Quote, "I did not participate in this decision." This is being seen as Rebecca Mercer taking the reins and saying, "All right, we're gonna get this thing together." It's kind of related because
this question: who's on that board and what?
It's the Mercers. It's all that matters.
Yeah.
Is the Mercers.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the Mercers social network. We just live here. I don't know if that'll get them back on the internet, but.
I'm delighted. I just caught Stacy catching me tweeting during the show.
Steven Sinofsky, former and much hated Microsoft executive, the guy in charge of Windows 8, has decided to write his memoirs, but on Substack.
How cool can you be?
He's a cool kid. Hardcore software inside the rise and fall of the PC revolution, which would be, he confesses, at least a 2-volume set. So he's got a lot of running to do. He's going to serialize it as a set of posts on Substack. Chapter 001. That's a bad sign that he feels like he's going to need 3 digits. Becoming a Microsoftie.
At least it's not 1.1.
Yeah. This book is broken into 15 chapters and an epilogue. Each chapter has a number. It's that's the plan. We'll see what happens. Hey, guess what? It's time for the Google changelog.
The Google changelog.
February security patches rolling out to the Google Pixel. Why am I having trouble saying Google? I don't know. Factory images and OTAs are live. That's usually the herald. Like the robin heralding spring, the OTA images herald the new security patch for February.
That's a pretty boring story. We get that every month.
Yeah. You know what? Jason Howell is the host of All About Android. I think he stuck that in here.
Okay. All right, Jason. It's okay.
He still produces the show, right?
Yeah. Pixel 5.
okay.
Yeah, he gets to do that. That's his job. Pixel 5 4a 5G now supports standalone 5G on T-Mobile and Google 5 with the February update. Another exciting February update story. Let's see if I can find something. Oh, there's a green room now in Google Meet. So this is actually much needed.
This is good.
To test your audio and your video. It shows you a picture of yourself, and you can decide not to wear that knit cap. And then it says, say something. And I'm just testing my video, and then it plays it back to you. That's a very good
magically,
idea.
there are donuts and coffee there. It's amazing.
Oh, I wish. In the green room? What's the best green room
and only red M&Ms
you ever experienced? Best food green room?
I've been in crappy green rooms every time. MSNBC had Dunkin' Donuts coffee and Dunkin' Donuts donuts.
Yeah, they didn't have...
was
Regis and Kelly was not a great green room. It was okay, but it wasn't great. You know, the best one I've been in was the Today Show. That was pretty nice. They had eggs.
I'll bet.
They had like breakfast. But you were up pretty early.
That's right. It's like at 6 in the morning, right?
Yeah. I think they had to.
Yeah.
I think the best one I've been in was on 1351 Redwood Way.
We have an excellent green room.
Awesome coffee.
He likes our coffee machine.
He keeps trying to
I have also an excellent green room.
What's your favorite green room? Yours at home? The best cookies. Google.
Yeah, I have.
Google search links are going to get a panel that says about this result that will give you information about the website, which is kind of an interesting idea. Here's how it looks. So this is so you can vet the source. So in this example,
Facebook has been doing for like 2 years.
Have they really?
They don't find a huge uptake for it, but that's a different experience. People might use this. I don't know. We'll see.
So in this example that they give, you see an article from the Lancet, and it says the Lancet is a weekly peer-reviewed general medical journal. It's among the world's oldest and best-known general medical journals. That's from Wikipedia. It says your site is secure. It shows you the full URL of the article, which is sometimes really nice to see ahead of time. This is a search result, not an ad. Only ads are paid, and they'll always be labeled with sponsored or ad. And I think that's really cool. There's then buttons at the bottom with privacy settings and how search works. I think this is nice. This seems, I guess it's only on mobile. It's a beta feature rolling out to Google Search in the U.S. Oh, no, desktop, mobile web, and the Google app on Android. I like it. YouTube is going to celebrate Black History Month, the month of February. There'll be a new BHM logo every week on, I presume, leading to BHM content. I don't know. I would guess. YouTube says, at YouTube, we believe in the power of diverse voices and perspectives as part of our continuing work to support and celebrate these voices. We're starting Black History Month by highlighting 4 black artists this Black History Month. They will bring their creative talents to the YouTube logo. Every Monday in February, there'll be a new logo. So there's only going to be 4 in the top left corner of the home feed. Now should I try it? YouTube. Let's go. Let's see. Where's my BHM logo? I don't see one.
I want to say I saw it earlier today.
Do I have to play a video to see it? No, that's not working.
Premium?
Is it because I'm premium? No, they wouldn't only show that to people who don't pay. I guess I'm just not getting it yet.
I saw it on, well, maybe it was my other computer. I don't know, but I saw it on something earlier today. I don't see it on this screen.
Maybe I do have ad blocking turned on. Let's refresh and see. Nope. Don't know. Anyway, look for it. Google Play is going to allow Android gambling and betting apps in more countries, including the good old USA. So Robinhood's just going to fit right in. No, I'm kidding. We're updating our real money gambling games and contest policy so more developers can build sustainable businesses on your addictions and in a way that helps keep consumers safe.
Hey, insurance companies are just legalized gambling.
That's true. It's all gambling.
Why not?
Yeah. DraftKings is going to bring its sportsbook and casino app to the U.S. There's online casino games permitted in Delaware, Nevada, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Congratulations, Jeff. You win. There'll be sports betting.
Commercials for gambling now are the
nonstop.
2 people who frighten me most are the online gambling people and the Prevagen people. I don't know which one I dislike more.
Tell me you're tempted, though, aren't you, to take that Prevagen? Aren't you tempted?
No.
It's made out of...
Have you taken it?
No.
Have you taken it?
No. I do take a lot of sketch supplements, though. So, why not? Why not? One more sketch supplement.
Juice.
This is just depending on which state you're in and what's legal. Lotteries, again, from state-run operators. Daily fantasy sports, depending on the state, may be regulated as gambling in the U.S. But if it's legal in your state, it's going to be on Android. Applications will be rated adult only and prevent underage users from using. And the app has to be free to download and not use the Google Play in-app billing system. So Google is lightening up a little bit on gambling on your Android device. The Android TV home screen gets another revamp, this time with some Google TV goodness. Remember, they released a new Chromecast with Google TV, not Android TV. It's very confusing. Some of the Google TV features are now migrating over to Android TV.
I actually need you to explain this to me, because I'm thinking of getting the new Chromecast with the remote control and the whole thing. Do I have to pay something every month?
No.
Is it just a different Chromecast?
It's just a different UI.
That's all it is. Okay.
You know, do you want to play any Stadia games? Because right now it doesn't work with Stadia. You need a Chromecast Ultra for that. I think that's the only. But it's a nice UI. I like the Android TV home screen. And the point of this story is that more and more they're gonna look the same.
Okay. So I should
vice versa. The Google TV home screen is going to be replacing the Android TV.
So should I buy the Chromecast
yes.
remote?
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think for the remote alone, it's worth it. And Android Phone Hub is going to start appearing in Chrome OS. So look for this for a select few. So I think you're going to be eligible because you use a Pixel phone, right? Mm-hmm. Phone Hub is a code name for a new set of features that make your Android phone and Chromebook work better together. You've always been able to unlock your Chromebook with your Android phone, but there'll also be instant tethering, Google Messages integration, which is great. Android notifications will show up on your Chrome OS desktop. Recent Chrome tabs will be shared. Handy options like silencing your phone or locating would also be available from the Chrome OS desktop. This will all be powered by Google Play services. It's right now in the Dev or Canary channels, and your phone has to have a beta version of Google Play services. So I would just wait. I'm not
wait.
Yeah, I'm not clear if you'll have to have a Pixel to do this. I'm not sure which phones will support it. So probably more than just the Pixel. I don't see any restriction to Pixels. So, and that, my friends, thank you to Jason Howell, is the Google changelog. The changelog. Uber's buying Drizzly. Do you care?
Getting the alcohol now,
It's
right?
a booze delivery company, yeah. Drizzly never did any delivery. I didn't realize this. They provided the back ends for your local liquor store to do their delivery. So it was just
at a very high price, right?
Yeah. And actually, I did it only once in my life, and to Bevmo, and it didn't work. I had to call Bevmo. I said, "Where's my delivery?" 3 days later, I paid for it. They said, "Oh yeah, it's right here." So would you bring it up? Would you bring it over? And they said, "Next time, just use us. Don't use Drizzly." So I don't know how good Drizzly.
Was that when you were going to make that weird cocktail?
Yes,
you needed to get the
it
ingredients?
was. Yeah. How did you know that?
I remember that.
You know too much about me. Did we talk about Andreessen Horowitz doing their own journalistic thing?
I don't think we did. I don't think we did. Sir. It's interesting.
No, it's time to stop this call.
You don't want to talk about that?
I don't want to talk about this.
All right, let me do an ad, and then Stacy can go home. Our show today.
No, we can do anything else. It's just not that story.
Why don't just curiosity? Why do you hate that one?
Because then we have to talk about the
Clubhouse
people at Andreessen Horowitz and their high opinions of themselves.
You don't, is it Ben or Mark you don't like?
I don't even want to talk about it.
I love this. We have tapped a nerve. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan either, but I just
never
curious.
said a bad thing about Mark Andreessen in my life, and he blocked me. I cannot understand why.
It's because you know me.
Today.
You know me and Stacy. He says, if you're friends with Stacy Higginbotham and Leo Laporte, I don't.
People with mediocre thoughts and thin skin just can't handle.
Well, and look at the shape of his head. I mean, there's something.
I'm not gonna talk about somebody badly because
I
of
know
how they
that's
look.
mean.
That's
That's
not nice,
mean.
but
Yeah. But
All right, thank you, Stacey. I enjoyed that. That was
Sorry,
enough. It's
I'm-
a little soup saw of Stacey
Struck a
bitterness.
nerve.
it is kind of interesting, though. I'll tell you where there's an interesting angle. So, Clubhouse, which is also an A16Z investment, and it's very hot right now, right? It's like $1 billion. It's a unicorn, another unicorn.
God, everybody's on Clubhouse. My husband's like, I'm on Clubhouse, and I'm
I know.
like, I could be on Clubhouse.
I'll send you an invite if you want to be on it. But
No, I haven't. I just have.
let me just see who. Let me just see what
It's
I'm
not on
missing.
Android.
It's
No, iOS
only,
only.
right?
So Jason
Yeah.
Fried's doing a startup and product chat with Ryan Hoover and Kevin Rose. Love those guys. Cultivated Wit Club. That's Baratunde.
That's Baratunde.
Yep. Transitioning to tech and what we've learned. I don't know who. Oh, Wesley Faulkner. So, you want to watch
Wesley's
this?
awesome.
Yeah,
Wesley.
because these are people I follow. That's why. Oh, my license. I got to turn that around. And martial arts and fashion. That sounds fun. So these are rooms you go into. I can't play it because that's part of the deal is you can't stream it or anything. You can only have to be there. But last week, 10 p.m., Elon Musk does a little clubhouse. 5,000 people try to hear it. More people show up. They have to do an overflow room, then another overflow room because Elon Musk.
He's Elon Musk.
And then he brings up the CEO of Robinhood. But I should point out, all of these are Andreessen Horowitz's investments. Every one of them. So it's kind of, I think it doesn't bother me because I shouldn't bother you, Stacey, or anybody who's in journalism because it did bother Jessica Lesson at The Information because she's worried that with companies, doing their own journalistic enterprise, and frankly, I wouldn't expect anything coming from Andreessen Horowitz not to promote Andreessen Horowitz stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least worldview.
She's worried that it's going to take over from journalism. But I think people are going to know the difference, and they're going to say, no, I want to hear what Stacey thinks.
It's just another...
I think there is a... Oh, we're talking about it. I think there has been a very...
Reel her in.
All right. There has been a confusion, and it's been happening for the last probably 15 years, and a lack of questions because some journalists are not great at their jobs. Or they're great at some parts of their jobs, but they don't want to lose access. True journalism isn't sitting there and taking press releases and talking. You actually have to know something about it. You have to ask the hard questions. You have to go and find stories that maybe people don't want you to tell.
And you can't have investments in the companies you're covering.
Right.
Oh, there's
and there's a huge audience. It's for critical, like quote unquote critical thinkers in the tech industry. They're horribly uncritical about the content they consume, and it drives me up a wall. So this whole strategy is it's this insular bubble just getting.
That's exactly what Casey Newton says. He says, "I'm leery of any company."
Let me play Leo.
Hold on. Casey Newton says, I'm leery of any company that thinks regularly talking to journalists is beneath them. Let's see, Benedict Evans has described Andreessen Horowitz as a media company that monetizes through VC. Well, that's interesting. I would have thought the other way around. That's interesting. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
So I think that once most media, and present company is excluded most of the time, Leo, Stacey all the time,
most of the time,
has gone moral panicky, has gone negative, has gone dystopian. I think that there's a different perspective that they just don't get out and they can do it on their own. So I think the real import of this is I'd sell your stock in a PR company. Because
that's who they're really bypassing. That's who they're really
Yes.
bypassing. It's not news, but PR. They used to be the intermediary between companies and journalists.
Now, the other piece of this is I'm not completely pessimistic about the quality of this, mainly because I look at, I'm a great fan of Ben Evans, and Ben was an employee of Andreessen Horowitz as an analyst for a long time, and his analysis was always sharp and independent, and now he's truly independent, and I value him greatly. By the way, his annual PowerPoint extravaganza is on the rundown this week, and it's great and it's smart, and so they did foster Ben before.
Yeah.
Benedict Evans.
Well, you know what? Any VC firm hires the smartest people it can because they're trying to make the best investments. So there are plenty of great, smart people working in these companies. That's I mean,
they may be obnoxious sometimes, but
well, some there's a little bro culture in some, but for the most, I just think that I don't want to see the traditional media replaced by pet media, because that's not going to benefit end users. But I don't think it will be. People are, I think, smarter than that. It's going to be another source. Look, Clubhouse has a lot of startup news. That's, it's like, and it will be as soon as it becomes.
It's everything I don't like. It's everything I disliked about San Francisco, right?
It's very much that. Yep.
Probably. It's you can't find anybody who, you can, but you really have to dig for it. Everybody there is focused on their tech. It's focused on their startup. It's what can you do for me? It's very
I don't like it either.
Focused.
I'm with you.
So, but that being said, Kevin and I are going to do something. We're going to talk about IoT.
Drag.
On Clubhouse?
Yeah.
Oh, tell me when.
We have to. You have to.
No, you don't have to.
My impression is it was just another extension of, I hate saying it like this, it's like an extension of YouTube for...
It's more like...
different influencers.
Yeah, for audio. You just don't have to do your makeup.
Yeah. This stuff has been around for years. It's, you know what? It's like Meerkat. Remember Meerkat? These things are always very fizzy when they start. Right now it's invite only. As soon as it becomes open to the public, it's immediately going to be the worst place in the world. and it'll be shut down in a year. Honestly, there's no hope for this. There's no hope for any social network like this because people are horrible. And
I'm not horrible.
No, you're wonderful, but I like people. It's humanity I don't like.
TikTok is doing somewhat the same thing, though, right?
Yeah, but this is different. This is long form.
One-to-one conversation.
When you go in these, it's a conversation that's very different, right? And it's long form. These go on for hours. Stacy and Kevin are going to sit there for hours.
We don't,
not, because it's Stacy.
Yeah, I was going to say, when's dinner? I got to go.
I'd be like, we will be here for the next 30 minutes. Yeah. Let's talk.
I've sat in on a few things. It's, it's sitting around the pork barrel, the pickle barrel and BS. And,
Pickle barrel.
I'm going to start a new one called Pickle Barrel. You can come and be in my pickle barrel.
It'll be Dill Talk.
All right, get your pick ready because we're almost wrapping this thing up. I just have one more commercial to do for our sponsor, CashFly. They're more than a sponsor; they're a partner. In fact, they have been for over 10 years. When I say bandwidth for Twitter is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com, it's because it is. They are. That's where you're getting our stuff from: video, audio. CashFly has been innovating content delivery since 1999. They saved our bacon in the early days of Twit. We were trying to figure out, how do we stream? How do we do this? Can't come off a website. That was a measure of success, I guess. But thankfully, Matt Levine, who's the founder, came to me and said, please let me help. And, well, the rest is history. We've been using CDN, CashFly CDN Content Delivery Network ever since. And this is how I can say with absolute confidence they're the best. Never have had any problem. When you download our podcast, they come in fast because you're getting them from a server near you. And that's one of the keys. Their new thing is ultra low latency streaming. If you're doing live, WebRTC is okay, but this is not that. This is stream delays of less than a second latency. They have an HTML5 player that offers easy support anywhere with an SDK available, even for mobile, which is fantastic. And whether you need your player to run on websites, applications, mobile devices, or whatever platform, they've got you covered. Again, can I say it again? Less than 1 second of latency. Anywhere in the world. That's the thing about CacheFly. They have over 50 points of presence, POPs, servers all over the world. That's the whole idea. You're going to get your content from someone near you. And it gets into those POPs using their own low latency background. So your backbone. So your video streams will be streaming quickly no matter what continent your viewers are on, or all of them. Infinitely scalable. CacheFly's ultra-low latency video platform can deliver video to more than 1 million users concurrently. It can ingest thousands of synchronous streams reliably, too. And they support everything. It's designed to transmux thousands of streams simultaneously with live failover, RTMP, RTMPS, SRT, and more. They're going to give you your end users ultra-low latency SLDP or HLS streams simultaneously, whichever one they prefer. Get a solution that works for you, tailored to your unique needs, and it's all built on top of CacheFly's amazing, robust global network with ingest and delivery no matter where you need it, anywhere in the world. Best of all, 24/7, 365 priority support. There's always somebody to talk to. They have the best engineers there. And I love what they've built here. 1 million concurrent streams. Amazing. More than. And up to 5 times faster than other CDNs. It's the world's most reliable CDN, backed by a 100% SLA. 100%. It's as good as you can get. CacheFly is helping out people during COVID-19 by supporting World Central Kitchen. They've already donated over $50,000. There's more to come. They're serving warm meals to people struggling during this very tough time. CacheFly, I don't know if you know this, they pioneered Anycast, the Anycast CDN infrastructure, way back in 2002. And their best hop technology automatically finds the fastest route to and from customer origin across that global network of POPs I was talking about. That way you get maximum performance and reliability. We could not be happier with CacheFly. Find out what CacheFly can do for you. No pressure, no, just informative. They'll give you a complimentary detailed analysis of your current CDN bill and usage trends. If you are thinking maybe you need something better, maybe you don't have a CDN, maybe you want ultra-low latency streaming, maybe you're overpaying and you want to save, twit.cachefly.com. Bring them your current bill and your usage trends and see what they can do for you. No pressure, just information. twit.cachefly.com. They've been a great partner. We are so grateful to CacheFly. The chat room, reviews are coming in. I love this show, but it's the smuggest show on Twit. And they say, yeah, that's part of its charm. So the smugness continues.
What the hell?
I don't want to be smug.
We're not smug. We're just better than everybody else. That's all. Stacey,
I don't think I'm better than anyone else.
I know. I put words in your mouth. Stacey Higginbotham, would you like to give us a pick?
Oh, so I am going to be a little promotional today, but only because I want to help y'all out, not because, I mean, yes, it does help me out.
It's for us. It's for us. We're doing it. You're doing it for us.
Wink has been down for a week.
Oh, I was going to ask you about this. Somebody called me on Sunday. I'm so glad you brought this up. Are they still down?
They were this morning last I checked.
What the hell's going
on? Right before I
on?
published the story.
Yes, they're still down.
They're struggling.
So this has gone on since the 25th.
Yes, that's true. And they did give people a discount. So I have a Wink subscription, or I had one.
Well,
I'm no longer having one.
The story so far, people bought the Wink device, free service. Then they realized that's not a financial model. Earlier last year, they started charging people $5 a month. That's a financial model, but everybody was pissed off. Now they've been down for more than 10 days. And I'm wondering if it's related. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, who knows? So, yes. So we don't know. And believe me, I have spent probably like a whole week of my life trying to get in touch with Wink. Yeah. If I look back on my efforts, just as a journalist, like, hey, what's up? So I did a story. The idea was, the reason you stick with Wink for the most part, for most people, is because you still have Z-Wave and Zigbee devices that you like, and they don't work with well, okay, Zigbee devices can work with Madam A or the Echo, some of the Echoes, but not all of them do. And so for those people out there who are like, I got all this Z-Wave gear, what am I supposed to do? I tried to create a rundown of options. What I discovered, though, is most of those options are sold out.
Oh.
So it's kind of sucky. But in what I did is I wrote a post, and this is in order of like ease of use. How y'all are, the audience here is pretty tech savvy. So without smart things, you're probably like, that's cool. I could probably load some software onto a Pi and get a Z-Wave dongle and use something like Home Assistant. But, your options are smart things. They're no longer making their hardware.
Oh, no.
But
they were bought by
yes,
Samsung?
They announced this.
They're going out of business?
They were bought by Samsung. No. They're just going to focus on the software. So they've pushed. So it's actually been very difficult to find a Smart Things hub. AOTech is going to be making them, but they're not available yet here in the US, which is frustrating. So they'll be available in a couple weeks, according to SmartThings. The other one that'll be available later this month is Eslo, is a brand you may not have heard of, but it's Vera Centralite and Fortress came together. And then the other option that's still sort of easy for people, like normal people to use, is something called Habitat Elevation, but that's also sold out. So all your easy options are kind of not on the market.
I told the guy who called, I said, this is the problem with going through a third-party server. You would be better off running your own server. And so I mentioned Hoobs. Would that be a good alternative?
So, and Micah pointed out that, because I had Kevin try Hoobs, because that's a Homebridge connection. With Hoobs, you still need to have a Z-Wave radio if you want to bring a Z-Wave device in. So that's a note. And the same with all of these. So there's Home Assistant.
You could buy the Hoobs for $169. Does that include the Z-Wave radio?
Yeah, but that doesn't have a Z-Wave radio.
Oh, you still have to get a separate radio. Okay.
Yeah, so both Home Assistant, OpenHab, and Homebridge or Hoobs, you're going to have to buy.
Yeah, that's the other thing I told him about OpenHab. I didn't know about the dongle, but I just said running your own server, you wouldn't have to worry if they go out of business, right?
I feel like you should run, if you're going to do anything, run Home Assistant, because there's more people. I like OpenHab. I've used it. It was kind of a trial, but it has the biggest community. And when you're working with like drivers for weird devices, having a large community really helps when you're like trying to troubleshoot.
Home Assistant. And can you do your own hardware, or do you have to buy their?
You could do your own hardware. They have a device called the Home Assistant Blue, and the Blue is actually very powerful.
And this you don't need to buy a dongle.
You do still need to buy
you still need a dongle. It's all right. How much is a dongle? Come on. How hard can that be? It's a Z-Wave dongle that has a Z-Wave radio in it so that you can control. If you don't have any Z-Wave, you don't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah. And if you don't have any Z-Wave, if you don't have Z-Wave, dump Wink tomorrow, like yesterday. Get it out of your house.
So was that the purpose of Wink, is to bridge Z-Wave to Zigbee and the others?
So Wink, when it came out, was actually really cool because it had Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, and Z-Wave, which was all the major home radios. But it also had the Lutron Caseta radio. So if you didn't have the Caseta hub, which I'm putting behind me like it's still there, but it's not. It was living there for a while. But if you have that, or you didn't need that because they had the radio raw, not raw 2. They had the Caseta radio. I can't remember the protocol they use in that, which was really kind of very unique and super cool.
So if I got, here's a $45 Z-Wave USB stick. If I got that and stuck it into Hoobs or Home Assistant's Blue, it would just work. They would know about it. They would say, "Oh yeah, I see you have a Z-Wave radio. Do I have to do anything
You're
additional?"
You're gonna have to pull a driver in for that. So you're gonna want to Google whatever Z-Wave.
It does get harder and harder. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever, but that's why I think Home Assistant's great, because they have all these.
They got it all.
Lovely forum posts that are like, here are the dongles that work.
That's what you want. Something that's widely supported. That's exactly right. Yeah. And and this is your own server. You're not connecting to somebody's third-party server out there in the real world.
All of these have I shouldn't say all. Most of these have the ability. It's like, so OpenHab, Home Assistant, and Homebridge are your own server.
That's what I thought. That was my suggestion to the guy. Why depend on Wink for $5 a month when you could do it yourself?
The reason is because they're all getting better, but none of them are as easy to use.
Yeah, so it's just ease of use. Yeah. Well,
and, Home Assistant Blue just came out in December, so they're they're gradually moving. The problem with all of this is you have like the super nerds who want to like configure everything and spend a lot of time on it. But then you have everybody else who's like, look, I just want to set up a movie thing and I want to spend like 15 minutes setting up my movie night setup and that's it. And as you meet those people, you leave the other people behind.
Here's a company that sells, so they don't sell
Who's the company?
This is I'm looking at the Blue. Right, the Home Assistant Blue bundle is sold by a variety of companies. Here's one, Ameridroid. It's the only one in the U.S. And this is the bundle that they sell for $150.
Oh, now some people might have a bundle with a U.S.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, this includes a whole bunch of additional little things, including Shelly stuff.
Ooh, that's a whole automation package. Yeah. Oh, I've got some Shelly stuff coming today.
But new orders expected to ship in April, so
yeah,
you're gonna be offline for a while. Yeah, Wink
you're
might
not
be
online now if you're with Wink.
Wink might
that's
be
not
back.
true. Local.
No, you might be because it says I'm looking at February 3rd. They posted on their website. That's today. A fix has been implemented, and we are monitoring the results. Most hubs are back online. So 10 days later, they're back online. But that does not give one confidence if for 10 days you can't turn on your lights, open your blinds.
So you could you could always do local stuff. And to be clear, Z-Wave is local.
They said don't unplug your hub. Because if you unplug it, then it has to authorize before you get local control again. So they said local control is not affected, but don't unplug. That's not a good solution.
And for everyone who's arguing for the clapper, I think that's actually a wonderful product. I'm not kidding.
Clap
There's
on?
no joke about it.
Clap off.
Yes.
Wow.
That's how far we've come in home automation in the last 50 years.
Basically, a lot of it is a more expensive clapper with software glitches.
That's why I'm not going to ever do this. I've learned my lesson. Okay, so that's some very good advice. I'm so glad you brought this up because I had meant to ask you about it. Actually, it was one of the first things I wanted to ask you because of this question. There is a full article about all of this at StacyOnIoT.com. Where have all the smart home hubs gone? And
long time passing. Oh my gosh, that's like my car trips when I was a kid with my parents and their hippie stage.
Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. Yeah, so you have every one of them here and pros and cons on each and links and so forth. So that's really a great article. I'm glad you wrote that, and I will mention that on the radio show this weekend because I gave Leo's half-assed answer. Your ass is full on this one.
Stacy's full-ass answer?
That's
great.
Wrong. I better switch over to Jeff Jarvis and his number of the week.
So open up Ben Evans. I put down 6 slides from Ben Evans' Mondo presentation.
Yeah, I started to go through it, and there's just so many slides I didn't know.
So slide 5, I'd start there.
Okay. Hold on. Give me a moment. I'm finding the link. What happened?
I put it down in my numbers.
Oh, you put it in the oh, okay.
I was going to give you a line number, but you
you moved it. You moved it. That's what happened. No, I knew where it was earlier. I had it open. Okay, slide 5. 5 of the great unbundling.
So e-commerce steps forward 5 to 10 years. The pandemic accelerated e-commerce by half a decade to a decade.
And I don't think it's going to revert. I think this is the new normal. Yeah.
No. On to 7. You can go one at a time if you want.
7. Online grocery sales.
Go forward. Doubled.
Doubled. Wow. This is
These
UK,
are just
but
habits that are changed.
This is the UK numbers
he has, but it's still going to change.
Yeah.
Slide 9.
Mm-hmm. But I'm glad you're not telling me line numbers. This is so much better.
I know. That's why I don't want to overdo you. So the proportion of adults making video calls at least weekly, right? Any is now about 73%.
Do you think the UK reflects, though, use in the United States? Like, I don't think this is going to be the same.
I think we're bigger.
Yeah. But I don't even know if the platforms would be the same. Like, WhatsApp is definitely going to be lower in the U.S. for
Well,
instance.
wait,
Yes, absolutely true.
I got a question about that because, like, who wasn't FaceTiming or doing anything like that before? I mean, like, we were all making video calls before the pandemic, right?
No, you young whippersnappers maybe, but not us old
No,
folks.
yeah, no. In fact, even
not
with
everybody.
young people, I mean, it was hard to get people to do video calls. It was hard. We're so used to
maybe
it
it's
now.
a grandparent thing that I'm just like, oh.
I think it's your
I mean,
business.
I didn't spend all day on them.
No, but I think it's your
Stacey, I think
business
the
in
difference is-
particular. You were working
Yeah, I think
away
it's business
at home
as
and-
opposed to family.
Yeah.
This is business calls.
Okay.
This is what made the huge change.
Business.
Slide 23. See, I jumped ahead here.
Oh my God, I don't know if I can get there. Okay.
You can go. You can stop at any time you want.
No.
Amazon now delivering a third of the parcels in the U.S.
This is U.S. Okay.
Basically
Right.
equal to almost equal to the post office. Just
Yeah.
phenomenal to
Yeah.
me. Slide 26. Delivery employment has already doubled. Crappy jobs, but it's
Yeah.
doubled.
Well, they exist. They're jobs.
This is
Warehouse
the unbundling.
warehouse is the red line, and or the black line, and delivery is the red line. So both have gone up.
33. After we were extolling, 33. 33. Bingo! I have bingo. Who needs Amazon? Shopify goes direct. This is interesting. We were extolling Amazon before, but here he has numbers to show that in 2020, Shopify has grown considerably because it's merchants wanting to go around Amazon and not be stuck with Amazon.
Does Shopify
And
do
so it creates
fulfillment, or just the
I was afraid you guys
cart?
could actually make a question about
Because
that.
that's the thing about Amazon. It's soup to nuts. You know, they do the fulfillment. They do everything.
Yeah.
I understand why
Well,
you
a lot of
would
these
want to get out from under them.
Stores have the fulfillment.
Yeah.
The next slide, the arguments against no one can compete with Amazon. Wasn't this already solved? But brands and consumers are ready to go direct. Now, when I've worked with publishers who are doing e-commerce, the consumers really want Amazon and they really want Prime and ready for Prime free delivery. But we'll see. And then
I bet you
finally,
Shopify is building fulfillment, by the way.
And I bet you they have third-party fulfillment tools
yes,
that you could
available.
probably use. Yeah.
And then so he says later that for electric cars, and of course we have the GM announcement, we have all the stuff going on with electric cars. The batteries are still going to have to come down a third in price for this really to work. But then on slide 71,
Good Lord.
he presents
How many
the
slides
electric
are there?
ferry.
The electric ferry. Nice.
Washington State's actually looking at those.
That's
I wish they
awesome.
would
I
get
would
on
imagine so. Yeah.
Cool.
because they're quieter. So like
Sure.
there's a whole thing about like the orcas being upset because the loud engine noises.
Oh, but you know what they're going to
That would
say
help.
then. Well, the orcas are happy, but the dolphins don't like the high-pitched whine from the dynamos. You know what they're going to do.
We don't have dolphins up here.
Oh,
we
good.
only care
Then you're
about the
safe.
orcas. Orcas and whales. That's all we care about.
Orcas and whales.
They get pissed off with the rain. It's just too much rain. They can't take it. Yeah.
It's so wet.
That was
I will
it.
have you know it was sunny today, and I spent all the sunshine hours with y'all.
Oh. Stacey, you can quit anytime. I'm not going to make you do this show anymore. You can, honestly, I feel terrible.
No, I have. So this is partly a persona thing, but it is like I enjoy hanging out with y'all. I just
What?
have a hard time sitting still. For
What?
this long.
Do you have a
She's
recording
on
of that, John?
the record.
Okay.
It's recorded.
Could you make a John?
Yes,
can
you
make a
were
GIF
supposed
out
to
of that,
record
please?
this, John. Aunt, what's your thing?
My thing is, I'm a very proud.
Oh, I'm so
just
happy for you.
Moment.
I'm so
the
happy
other
for
day,
you.
Even though this is a crazy time, but it is. Hardhead has officially signed his letter of intent to go to college and run track at Pacific
Not
University.
he's a
Muzzle.
football player too, but he's also a very fast runner. And
So what is he-
there he
what-
goes.
what
Look at him.
races
Look at
does
him.
he
Look at him.
run? Wow.
Oof.
So I put a little clip together, some of his old footage
that's
that I
cool.
caught of him.
Aren't you sweet?
And,
What a daddy.
yeah, I'm quite proud.
Wow.
Been waiting on this for a
What does he run?
long time. Long time. So yeah.
Is he going to
Just
major
shout
in?
out to the
What's he going to major in? Does he know?
Kinesiology.
Oh, that's good.
Kinesiology.
Oh, is this
as it says right here.
is this him signing the letter of intent?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Pacific University of Oregon. Oh, he's not going to be too far away either. That's wonderful. That's
Not
wonderful.
too far away.
That's really great.
He was considering a couple of different places down in L.A. and then even got accepted at some schools back in the Charlotte area, and he said, "No,
Good.
I'm happy there."
He's a West Coaster now.
So I'm so happy for him. That's fantastic.
So
Congratulations.
what does he run, Ant? What
he's a
races?
quarter miler, and he can run the 800 too, but he's a quarter miler.
And he's going to be a boxer.
Yep, he's a boxer.
Yep.
Go Boxers.
Go Boxers.
Can I ask an ignorant
find it
question?
awesome that he's a quarter miler because that seems to be the thing in our family. Because I ran the quarter mile, even though I was a hurdler, but I also ran the quarter mile. And my dad ran the quarter mile.
Oh, my God. He's a third-generation quarter miler.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Can I ask an ignorant question? Kinesiology, the study of like movement and things. What do you do with that?
For sports.
So what sports is it coaching, training?
It's trainer
That kind of
would be a
stuff?
No, it's more so
physiologist
for
typically,
like
right?
physical
Or
therapy.
PT. Yeah.
Therapy. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Does he want to be a trainer when he grows up?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
That would be
That's
cool.
another weird thing. I started out college as a sports medicine major.
No kidding.
Really?
Well, you've been a good influence. Good influence.
What
on
did
him.
you end up studying then, Ant?
IT.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's an IT
yes.
god.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't forget Ant's show, Hands-On Photography, twit.tv/HOP. And Ant would like you to review it on Apple Podcasts and
That's
give him
right. I've
5
gotten a few
big
reviews here
stars.
recently.
Let's get
So
him in
keep
there.
bringing them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do it, Ant.
You know who Rosemary Orchard on our iOS Today show made a very nice video on how to
She
leave a
sure did.
review
That's right.
on Apple Podcasts. Where is that on our? Where is that? Is it on our feed somewhere? Or
It's on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
Twit's YouTube channel.
it's a Twitbit. So if you go to
Twitbit.
youtube.com/twit, and there's a little video with a wonderful. By the way, we welcome Rosemary taking over my seat on iOS Today. She does a great job, but she has also made a video to make it a little easier for you to vote for our shows.
We played the Hop rerun this morning when I was leaving the studio after Floss Weekly, and Mr. John was giving me a hard time because in my preamble for Hop, I referenced, hey, go to Apple Podcasts or iTunes for you older folks, and because that's what we know it as.
Yeah.
It's not Apple Podcasts to us.
Yeah, I call it iTunes, which is meaningless to anybody who's not using Windows, but still, you know where it is. Apple Podcasts. That's probably the best. Actually, I don't think it is on our Twitbit. I don't know where it is. I don't see it on our Twitbit.
I saw it somewhere. Maybe it was Instagram. I saw it because I saw it.
Oh, it's probably on our Instagram feed. You know what? That's, I bet, where it is. Instagram.com/twit. What is
Twit?
What is it? I don't even know.
Twit TV.
I'm ashamed. No, it's Twit TV, I guess. It's not Twit.
I think it's Twit TV.
Is it twit.tv? I think it is twit.tv. Yes.
That's correct. Twit.tv.
Twit.tv.
Your empire is so huge.
I don't even know anymore. It's not my empire anymore. That's the real problem. It's Stacy's empire.
It says so on your thing.
I'm the chief twit, but that's a sinecure. That's a honorary title. Oh well, I'm trying to log in, but I can't.
Yeah, it's on our Instagram page.
Okay, perfect.
Twit.tv for Instagram.
All right.
And thank you, chat room, for all your kind words.
Thank you, Aunt Pruitt, for all your kind thoughts. Aunt Pruitt, twit.tv/hop, hippity hop. Jeff Jarvis is the director of the Town Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. He's also a blogger at buzzmachine.com. You'll find his stories on Medium as well, at Jeff Jarvis on the Twitter. Anything to plug? You going to Davos?
Oh no,
No one's going to Davos.
No, there's no Davos. It was online.
There's
I
no
watched a few
Davos.
things.
It's
They were
virtual.
boring.
Virtual Davos.
It was boring.
Boring?
Boring.
Yeah. How did they do the circles of influence?
I know.
That's why you go to Davos, right? To see where you rank with everybody else.
Right.
All the other thought leaders.
Yeah.
Right. And there's, of course, the wonderful Stacey Higginbotham. Her podcast with Kevin Toffel, the IoT podcast, is available on all the fine podcast platforms. But you can also find out more at stacyoniot.com. Subscribe to her newsletter there. Find out about upcoming events. Stacy on IoT.com. And Stacy spelled with an E. Stacey. I realize can people go to without the E? Will you get there? No.
I feel like
should talk to Andrew.
Yes.
Should talk to Andrew about that.
I think we've got without the E. Believe me, I struggle with this.
Yeah, your whole life you struggled.
No, just when I decided to name my company after me, which really wasn't a decision that I made.
No, you should.
It just kind of happened.
Yeah, you should. Thank you, Stacy. Go have something luscious to eat.
Would Higginbotham on IoT have been better?
Oh, I'd love that. But how would you spell that? No one knows.
Yeah.
But that would be a really...
My nickname used to be Shiggy, but Shiggy on IoT is...
Shuggy? What's your nickname? Shiggy? Like getting shiggy with it?
No, like
yes,
Mr. Shiggy.
That is...
S-H-I-G-G-Y? Shiggy?
Oh, my.
Yeah, that was...
Wasn't that that's the AOL guy?
Shingy.
Oh, Shiggy.
That's Shiggy.
Shingy and Shiggy.
Very different. He has longer hair.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, kids, it's time to get your Cacio e Pepe ready.
Mm-hmm. It's my week for Cacio. Last week was not Cacio e Pepe week. This week is Cacio e Pepe week as a result.
I got a new result for farro-based Cacio e Pepe.
What?
You know what farro is? It's a wheat grain.
It's a grain.
It's better for you than pasta.
I'm afraid you're missing
Crunchy.
with it here.
And if you put apple cider in, you cook your farro with apple cider, it's lovely on salads.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Or
That'd
with
be nice.
salmon
But Cacio e
and
Pepe
some
farro?
spinach.
Well, the same thing, because the Cacio e Pepe also has that tangy tartness, was in the New York Times this Sunday. I thought of you. It's farro e Pepe.
Ooh. Maybe. Cheese and pepper.
Cheese.
By the way, I put a
Pepper.
Fediverse recipe up on the rundown.
Did you? Does it involve feta cheese? Why didn't I see that?
Course.
Where did I see that? I missed it.
You can search.
That's okay.
Somewhere.
There's too many lines. Look how many lines. There's 196 stories.
I was busy.
196 stories. Wow.
Jason was busy. I was busy together.
Everybody was
we were busy.
Boy, one of these days I'm going to have to
many
do something
choices.
around here. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time on Twig. Bye-bye.
We do appreciate you watching this show right here on the Twit Network. If you want to make sure you are up to date on all things iOS, tvOS, watchOS, HomePod OS, all the OSs from Apple, you've got to check out iOS today. Rosemary Orchard, the incredible Rosemary Orchard, and myself talk each week about the news for iOS, the best apps and games, and so much more. You've got to check out the show, and we do appreciate you for subscribing.